Wrapping up week number 1 of December. Bill Gunner, Preston Thorne via the phone lines, and Tyler Head filling in one more day for Jennifer Jensen. Welcome in to your Friday morning edition of the early game, where it's a whole new world. How'd I hit that?
Not bad.
How'd I hit that, Preston?
Solid. I don't feel like you really went for it, though.
Yeah, I did.
Steve Bryson, when he sings it, he goes for it.
Yeah, I did back down a tad. I did. I didn't plan that. It just occurred. It just occurred. But South Carolina starts a whole new era of athletics yesterday with the introduction of Jeremiah Donati, the new athletic director. We'll talk a little bit about that this morning. You had women's basketball last night. Gamecocks 81-70 victory, and I don't know, in some kind of weird, odd karma, twist of fate. Do you two know who they play on Sunday?
TCU.
TCU. How about that? Jeremiah Donati can go back home for the rest of the month, and he can catch his soon-to-be women's team take on his soon-to-be past team when the Gamecocks travel to Fort Worth on Sunday, when Dawn Staley takes her team out there for the Hoop Fest Women's Basketball Classic against TCU on Sunday evening. But last night it was a victory over Duke, 81-70 in the SEC ACC Challenge. Gamecocks roll along that late contest. Did either of you make it to 11 o'clock last night?
I did. I watched the entire thing.
Okay. Preston?
Come on, man. What kind of question is that?
Yeah, Preston did not.
9 p.m. start. This is what you get for being in the big time. You want to be on ESPN? All right, we're going to put you on at 9 o'clock. That was a tough ask, but I made it a little bit further than you would have anticipated.
Okay, good job. Really, not that the game was in jeopardy, mind you, but if you saw the first quarter, you pretty much saw the victory. 28-12 to start the game. They would build on that 16-point advantage, push it to 20 at halftime as the Gamecocks were up big there, 51-31. Duke would outscore them in the fourth quarter, 22-13, to give Dawn Staley, Preston, maybe a little bit more video to use today and tomorrow to get them ready for number 9 TCU. But in the very end, South Carolina 81-70 last night over Duke at Colonial Life Arena, over number 8 Duke. We should continue to point out, because at times I think people just are like, oh yeah, they're steamrolling over teams. Well, they're continue to steamroll over top 10 teams. Yes, you got the one blemish to UCLA, but maybe that was the game that caught their attention. Last night, Chloe Kitts leads the way, 21 points and 11 rebounds, 11 points apiece from Sanaya Fagan and Tahina Paopao in the contest. Raven Johnson with a solid night, 4 assists, 3 rebounds. She did score 5 points as well. Gamecocks as a team, though, and I continue to be a little surprised by this, Preston, just 5 of 10 from three-point range. I thought this would be a team that relied a lot more on the three-pointer than what I've seen early in the season.
Yeah, I think that's good news, though, because I think that means that that's always going to be there and that they can always improve on that. So I imagine that they're working on the rest of the game, still trying to figure out what's going on in the post, and that shot is going to come along eventually.
So that was the story last night. So that was the other story. The other one, not sure if you two got into it, but Thursday night football in the NFL has been, I mean, the NFL basically kind of dipped their toe in the Thursday night water. They did those color rush games. They were normally bad games. It wasn't a really good product. And then they just flat out shoved college football aside and said, you know what, we're going to start putting primetime matchups on Thursday night. And it's actually turned into a really good product.
Well, you know what probably helped last night is you had two teams that had an actual week's worth of rest instead of playing off of 4 days rest, because both teams played on Thanksgiving last week too.
Yeah. So, yeah, Packers, Lions last night. Lions back in fourth game. Lions basically playing anybody that was in the stands on defense, just going out and calling down. And not only that, but they lose a defensive tackle early in the game. So they're just basically having tryouts up in the concourse, selecting guys to go play defense. And they end up having a last-second field goal to win that game, 34-31. I will admit, Preston, I did not make it to the end of that game. I made it a fair ways into it, but another pretty solid NFL. I got to admit, NFL, you're kind of growing on me. At first, I thought you were being the big block bully, just coming in. It's the old Preston Thorne theory: big bank take little bank, and big bank NFL shoving out little bank college football on Thursday nights. I'm kind of coming around to it.
Well, the reason why we have these good games is because the ultimate big bank, Jeff Bezos, said, "Hey, man, I'm not paying for this garbage anymore." And so Jeff Bezos said, "Y'all going to put some good games on this Prime." But that also lets me talk about this Prime really quickly here, Tyler. Let me get my old man rant here for a second.
All right.
I can't watch the game on Prime at the same time I'm trying to watch the women's game because I got to go out of the app, try to get to YouTube TV. I can't flip channels. It's a monopoly, and I don't like it.
That's why you got to have the double screen, man. Get a laptop, a phone, or something like that, because you can get the Prime Video on anything.
Yeah, you got. Hey, I hear you mentioning integrated media every day. It's time for integrated media to get out to the Thorne household, get you a dual television system. Queen Thorne there that'll have to be her gift to you for the holidays here, is maybe a dual, because I'm with you. I'm with both of you on this. Yes, that is annoying, Preston. That is annoying. That is an old man rant for 42 years of age. That is a factual, unarguable point. I'm also with Tyler. I have the dual television. I move in the little 40-inch television into the living room. I got the big television, the usual living room television, and it's the dual television setup. And we can even go 3 wide occasionally when we have to at the Gunner household to get everything in. So I'm with both of you on this. Yes, Preston, your rant, valid. Old man rant, accepted. Tyler, you're right. He's got to learn to upgrade to the dual TV system.
I will accept that. I will accept it.
There you go. So that's what we had. That was the major storylines from last night. Quickly, Preston, I'm interested. Obviously, we didn't talk much when you were here yesterday. We really didn't talk much after you left about a new athletic director. But from your standpoint as a former player, as an alumni, as a letterman that still has a different kind of vested interest in the program, unlike some of us that are just fans. How do you see a new athletic director?
Yeah, I think this is a huge opportunity because he's bringing in new ideas. He's bringing in new thoughts. He doesn't understand or know the lay of the land. So there might be some opportunities for folks to introduce them to what South Carolina is all about. So with change, I'm sure there's some people around athletics that might be a little bit nervous right now because when the new guy comes in, he brings in his new policies. You might not be able to leave for lunch like you used to, but it's all about the new change.
Yes, the old leave for lunch policy that now may be.
Yeah, you know how it is when you got an old boss. You knew the system. You knew that. Ray Tanner leaves at 3:00, so I can leave right behind him. This guy might be trying to stay at the office the whole day.
That's true. A good point on that. Yes, when you don't know what time the new boss is going to arrive at the office, now you might have to realize you've got to be there at 8 a.m. because he's getting there at 7:55, standing at the door, watching everybody clock in.
Yeah, you knew Ray Tanner was coming in at 9:30, so you could come in at 9:15 and act like you was there the whole time.
So, Preston, in that first week, are you kind of trying to schmooze your way, saying, "Hey, nice to meet you. Glad you're here. Listen, I don't roll until about 10:30, and I'd like to kind of keep it that way. Is that cool with you?"
Now you got to keep that one close to the vest. Everybody got to keep all their office secrets close to the vest and just see what plays out.
From a player standpoint, as a player back in the day, you had Mike McGee. Yesterday you mentioned he was a very hands-on, around the program kind of AD.
Yeah, Mike McGee was around a lot, and he was an old football guy, and I guess I didn't realize how significant he was at the time, but then when I go back to do my research, he was pretty important as far as college athletics was concerned. But Mike McGee was around a lot, and he didn't have a problem voicing his opinion. This guy, Mike McGee, was a football coach. He was more likely to tell you that you weren't taking on a double team right as opposed to, NIL contracts and something like that. Mike McGee was all about playing ball.
Yeah, he was. I think not a former head coach, but I believe he was an assistant at Duke during his day, and he was kind of the old school throwback athletic director that had been the coach, kind of the grizzled, as you mentioned, kind of like your grizzled usual defensive line coaches that are they've been in the trenches, but then they kind of upgraded. I feel like you still see that more at the high school level, but at the college level now, it's the sophisticated dapper athletic director that comes in knowing the business side of things, maybe the X's and O's, not that Jeremiah Donati doesn't, but the X's and O's of the game, maybe the football hands that you present, he's not going to have that quite as much, but he will be a business side of things, and that's welcome to the new era of college athletics where Preston, yesterday, Tyler brought it up. One of his roles, one of the jobs Jeremiah Donati has had previously is working with Lee Steinberg's agency, basically on player development and I forget the exact wording, but things.
And representation.
And representation, things similar to NIL. He's got a background in it already.
Yeah, that's really, I did think that was interesting. I was talking with Langston about that yesterday. It's interesting having a guy who's worked on the players' side because I think he knows all the secrets for the players, and now he might be trying to, I don't know. I'm curious to see how that plays out with somebody who has a lot of experience on the contract side.
So a good step. We'll see. You two want to figure out how you judge an athletic director hire right off the bat?
How's that?
I don't know. I mean, does it take 4 years? Do we have to revisit this in 4 years? Be like, yeah, home run hire. Does it take 2 or 3? I don't know.
It's a good question. I really don't know either.
There's no reason to think this is a bad hire at this point. I don't know when you officially deem it a good or bad hire. Is it a 10-year window that we look back and we're like, look at all what this guy did? I don't know. Preston, you want to weigh in on that real quick? When we get to judge this?
Well, just I guess off top, we can just go look at some of the TCU message boards and see how they feel about him leaving. Did they pack him up, or are they sad that he left?
Okay, during the break, you'll send me on a hunt for TCU message boards. Not what I had on my bingo card for this morning to be doing, but we'll get into it. Also, we'll get into Shane Beamer's got an award. Preston, Tyler, kind of a nice little award. Something to kind of brag about, maybe to put on the shelf during his SEC morning appearances there with Peter Burns, and maybe something a little bit different, an award to put on his shelf behind him in those interviews instead of a Tennessee or Mississippi State helmet where he has been previously as an assistant coach, as a graduate assistant. It's an award he can brag about. We'll tell you all about that. Let Preston get into that a little bit this morning as we, again, wrap up the first week of December. Unbelievable. How about this, guys? I mean, you realize now, what is it? We are just 2 more Fridays until Christmas. 2 more Fridays. So I hope your shopping is starting to take place. I hope you're baking your Christmas goods and you've got your Christmas candies all ready to go for what will be a nice weekend. We'll get into that a little bit. Championship weekend across college football. We'll talk some of that. Get into a lot with you this morning. You're listening to Bill Gunner, Preston Thorne, Tyler Head filling in for Jen Jensen. It is the early game.
Preston Hip Hop first at Integrated Media. Listen, Bill has already told me that I need to get a second screen, so why wouldn't I call my good friends at Integrated Media to get myself set up? We've been telling you all year to get your outdoor set up. It might be a little bit too cold for that now, but the spring is on its way. So what do you want to get? You want to get Samsung Series TVs, waterproof? You want to get Sonos outdoor speakers for TV and music, or Wi-Fi that works indoors and outdoors so you can have that multiple screen setup? Or my personal favorite, to control all your devices from just one remote. So from home theater setup to adjusting your thermostat or monitoring your security systems from your cell phone, Integrated Media is the company that you need to call. So call Nathan and Michael at 803-948-8327. That's 803-948-8327. Or you can reach them online at integratedmediainc.com.
Now it's time to look at your traffic and weather for your ride in on this Friday morning. Things not too bad out on the roadways. Do have an accident at St. Andrews Road and Bush River Road, as well as a disabled vehicle. That's I-20 westbound right there at Broad River Road. Other than that, everything relatively clean as you make your way in this morning. It is very cold outside. It's currently 29 degrees here in downtown Columbia. High today, only going to get up to 45, though there is going to be plenty of sunshine. High tomorrow, 53, then 66 on Sunday before some rain moves back into the area come Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Let's look at your traffic and weather on the early game.
$6:20 as we get you up and get you going here on your Friday morning. So let's get out the car and enjoy as Tyler just described, a brisk, chilly Friday morning that'll lead us into the weekend championship weekend, and we'll get into that. Gets going tonight with a couple games taking place. Boise State, UNLV, kind of the big one, and again, we'll talk more about that as we roll through the morning and what to look for. That game will be 8 o'clock tonight on Fox. Also tonight, Tulane at Army. That actually should be kind of a pretty game to watch. Anytime you can watch a game in person in warm weather at Michie Stadium up there at West Point, it's neat. Tonight, late game, it'll be, I say late game, 8 o'clock ABC. That should be a really fun one. Tulane favored by 5 there. Not sure if you two have a rooting interest on Tulane and Army.
How can you root against the United States Army, Bill?
It's a good question. It's a good question for all of you Green Wave fan out there that are thinking about rooting against Army tonight. Tyler poses a very difficult question for you. Preston, rooting interest tonight? UNLV, Boise State, Tulane, Army?
Give me Boise State, just because I'm really curious to how that quarterback from UNLV is feeling right now about his life decisions.
Okay.
And Tyler, you put me in a pickle. You put me in a pickle. Put me in a tough spot right there. So I'm going to refrain from saying who I support against the U.S. Army, but let's just say go green with it.
Okay. All right. There you go. So Preston goes completely against the United States, against the Army. Totally, whatever. We'll mark that down.
Thank you for your service, but I'm just saying.
That's too late for that, Preston.
6:21 on a Friday morning. Clip that, save that. Tulane -5 tonight, Boise -4 again. We'll talk more about that because should UNLV win, it doesn't really help South Carolina. Maybe, just maybe, though, a UNLV victory would help Clemson if Clemson wins. That's where Clemson could maybe jump in and get the bye.
Yeah, because essentially the Mountain West is playing for one bid, much like the Big 12 is, but that who gets the final bye and who gets to wait until January 1st to play is going to be interesting to see play out this weekend.
So we'll talk about that.
Can I ask a question?
Go right ahead.
Really, can I ask a question? Okay, is that game, UNLV Boise State, is that a win and you're in, or is it just for Boise?
Both. I think.
So you're saying if UNLV won, you think Boise would still be in?
I guess that's what I'm asking. I'm not sure.
It is. The only reason I say that with such certainty for both is that I've seen projections of UNLV winning and them being in, but I can't quite remember the exact data.
We know they'd be in. Regardless.
I think the exact rule is that whoever the non-Power 4 conference champion, it is the highest ranked, keyword ranked.
Yeah, so that's the only one that could be ranked because Tulane fell out this past weekend.
Right.
So the AAC championship, they're not playing for a spot. It's going to be Boise or UNLV.
So there you go. Yeah, so Preston, you do have an elimination game. That makes it more fun. An elimination game tonight. This is a playoff, not only a conference championship game, but a playoff game as the winner goes on to the actual playoff. The loser goes to some bowl that nobody's ever heard of, maybe the famous Amos Idaho Potato Bowl back in Boise. We'll see. But yeah, that is 8 o'clock tonight. And again, Tyler and I we'll get into that more here. We got Preston for about an hour, and then Tyler and I will get more into not only tonight's games. By the way, you get a Rich Rodriguez sighting tonight as well, 7 o'clock, CBS Sports Network, Jacksonville State and Western Kentucky in that championship game down in Jacksonville, Alabama. Yesterday, Preston, Tyler, big award, USA Today. Says Shane Beamer, you did good things. He is SEC Coach of the Year, Preston Thorne.
Yeah, I mean, congratulations to Shane. I imagine that's going to be the first of many that's going to come down the pipeline. As far as awards are concerned, I think there was some all SEC teams as far as Kyle Kennard and Nicky Manwari. Also, the award season is starting. But yeah, congratulations to Shane. I do have a question for Tyler though. Tyler, what's your mileage on USA Today? You know, I like to ask these generational questions.
Okay.
What's your mileage on USA Today?
I read some of their sports stuff. I've had some journalists that have wrote for them that I've been fans of. I don't think most of them work for them anymore, but I'd say they're still relevant for the most part.
So you were never in class, maybe in high school or middle school, getting the USA Today to do current events.
You know what?
I think Friday in class.
I think go back in time here. I think my 7th grade history class, we had to do a current events thing once a week, and we may have actually read USA Today for that. That might be my connection there.
Okay. All right. I just like to check the generational temperature with Tyler.
How are you viewing USA Today and their criteria and their standard now there, Preston Thorne?
I mean, it's an award. You'll take it. You can put it on your resume. But I'm sure there's some probably bigger game out there that you want to get as far as awards are concerned. But you'll take it for sure.
Yep. For those wondering, the USA Today voted on by 16 beat writers who cover the conference for USA Today. So there is 16 beat writers who come together and think that Shane Beamer is the Coach of the Year. Really, Coach of the Year is always an odd thing to me because I think, isn't it your natural assumption? You go, well, it's one of the two coaches in the conference championship game. Sarkisian for only losing one game, or Kirby Smart. But I don't always feel that way. And quite honestly, until Shane Beamer and South Carolina hammered Vanderbilt up in Nashville, I think most people would have said it was going to be Clark Lee for the job he's done, getting Vanderbilt bowl eligible. And you certainly could have gone that way. I think if you were looking at an actual Coach of the Year, it was either going to be Clark Lee at Vanderbilt or Shane Beamer for the jobs they did.
Yeah, I think a lot of times it's about whatever coach kind of really exceeds expectations. Again, Clark Lee is somebody that's done leaps and bounds better than people thought they were going to do, and what might have been a hot seat year for him over there at Vanderbilt. But yeah, if you don't really have that kind of candidate, you just kind of go chalk and say, okay, we'll give it to Kirby Smart or Steve Sarkisian, which Sark, coming in the first year in the SEC and making the championship game is certainly a worthy accomplishment. But yeah, nonetheless, very cool for Shane Beamer to get the award.
Preston also mentioned, along with Shane Beamer being SEC Coach of the Year, edge rusher Kyle Kennard and safety Nick Eamon-Warry earned spots on the All-SEC team voted on by, again, the 16 beat writers. So 2 Gamecocks, Kennard and Eamon-Warry, showing up on the USA Today All-SEC team. I believe that is just a first team. They don't go first, second, third. So good awards for them. And again, something that you expect them to be very proud. They'll take home a slew of awards, I would imagine, over the next month and a half as they get ready for the NFL Combine. That'll lead us into a question next week on opt-outs, bowl opt-outs, and what we're expecting from that. Preston and I'll get into that as soon as we know exactly what the destination is and where South Carolina may be going. But certainly, guys, year 4 for Shane Beamer. We'll see what the SEC has to say, the SEC office itself. But very good to see Shane Beamer getting the national recognition he deserves after really a good 4-year start, I think.
Well, and I think we see that in spades with, just how much this team's getting talked about, especially as they entered the playoff conversation these past couple weeks. And Preston, you can attest to this too. We obviously talk about it here locally because that's our job, but it's really nice to see when people around the country. I was listening to Atlanta Sports Talk Radio the other day. They spent 5 minutes talking about Carolina. They would have done that a year ago. I think that's pretty neat.
Yeah, when you listen to national shows and you hear South Carolina get brought up, it's like the Leonardo DiCaprio meme. You see him, you're like, hey, they're talking about us. I heard us The Levitar show they were talking about it. Dan Patrick mentioned South Carolina, Ryan Russillo. So all of these folks that maybe or may not talk about South Carolina specifically, it kind of had us. Todd McShay been kind of pounding the table for South Carolina all year. So it is cool to hear South Carolina in the national conversation.
803-404-6100, how you can text or weigh in this morning if you want to do so. We will get into a little bit more of that women's basketball game last night. Gamecocks 81-70 victory over Duke in the SEC ACC Challenge over at Colonial Life Arena. We'll tell you a little bit more about that as we roll along here. Tyler Head filling in for Jen Jensen, Bill Gunner, Preston Thorne. It is the early game.
Here for our friends at Absolute Glass, the premier glass company of the Midlands, offering auto, home, and business glass repair. If your glass is damaged, shattered, cracked, or broken, they can handle the job. Cracked windshield, that's no problem. They'll come out to your location and replace it for you, usually for free, and they work directly with the insurance company to take away the headache. Try to come out to wherever you are, school, home, work, roadside, doesn't matter. Absolute Glass will take care of the problem for you. Now, if you're at home and you're looking to increase the value of your home, you can do that with new windows and mirrors, and Absolute Glass will take care of that for you, too. Windows, mirrors, shower enclosures. You say it all the time. If you can see through it, Ray and Marianne at Absolute Glass can do it. So check them out online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com. That's online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com.
And let's take a look at your traffic and weather for your ride in on this Friday morning. Things about the same on the roadways they were just a couple of minutes ago. Still have the disabled vehicle at I-20 westbound and Broad River Road, as well as that same accident out at St. Andrews Road and Bush River Road as well. Other than that, everything looking relatively okay on your roadways so far this morning. Still very, very cold outside, so make sure you're bundled up when you head out. 28 degrees currently here in downtown Columbia. High today only going to get up to 45, though there is going to be plenty of sunshine. High tomorrow at 53, 66 on Sunday before we go into the mid-60s, and plenty of rain coming out at the beginning of next week. That's your look at traffic and weather here in the early game.
Oh, Maddie's solid. Like, if you can have a young point guard that can just play solid and is reliable. Like, she is reliable. Like, she doesn't turn the ball over a whole lot. She handles the ball well. She knows what we need, how we want to play and execute on both sides of the basketball. She can score, like, you put her in the, pick and roll. I mean, she's delivering for us time and time again. Just solid. Like, it's unfortunate that we don't have more minutes to give her because, all of our point guards are playing really well.
That's the voice of Dawn Staley last night, 81-70 victory over Duke. And not to put words in her mouth, but I can't help but notice Tyler and Preston. Maddie McDaniel last night, 15 minutes, 38 seconds, according to the box score. 7 points, 3 steals, 1 assist, no turnovers, big stat there. Had a rebound, was 3 of 5 from the field, 1 of 2 from free throw range, or from the free throw line. Malaysia Fulwiley, 15 minutes, 25 seconds, so about 14-second difference there. 1 of 7 from the field from Malaysia Fulwiley last night. 2 turnovers, no assists. She finished with just 3 points. You hear her talking about reliable, knows how to play the game, can play in the pick and roll. I'm not trying to put words in Dawn Staley's mouth, but you talk about a point guard that Dawn Staley likes, I feel like it's Maddie McDaniel. Preston?
Bill, I know when we talk in football, we talk, the word game manager gets thrown around, and I feel like that's a bad thing. But what I heard from Coach Staley just now was she takes care of the ball. She doesn't throw any bad picks. She'll take a sack when she needs to. She knows when to throw it out of bounds. That's all I heard. I just heard game manager, and I couldn't see Coach talking, but I can hear a smile on her face.
Tyler?
Yeah, certainly somebody that, we were all excited about coming into the season. You're seeing that early on this year. And like Dawn Staley said, it's unfortunate she can't get more minutes just because there's so many, other great talents on this roster. But you're seeing a lot of promise in what the future of this program is going to be running through somebody like her.
Going back to again last night, you talked about Raven Johnson, 4 assists, 3 turnovers. Gamecocks, by the way, more turnovers than assists last night for the game. That is a stat that stands out. 16 turnovers, 14 assists. To me, and this is a compliment to Dawn Staley. It's a compliment to how good the team is. They haven't gelled. These roles that we're trying to figure out, where last year you knew what Camila Cardoso's role was, Chloe Kitts knew what her role was kind of as a backup, Raven Johnson knew everything. You knew your roles. It doesn't feel like they've gelled into their roles, and they're still winning because they are ultra good.
It was nice to see them kind of come out of the gate hot last night.
Yeah.
In those first 5 minutes, they scored 15 points, which was the most they'd done in that time period this entire season. We go back to the UCLA loss the week. We wondered if it was going to kind of light a fire underneath them and get things kind of on the right track, and certainly seems to have done that, because now you've beaten both a number 15 Iowa State team and a top 10 Duke team pretty handily. I know Duke kind of made their surge in the fourth quarter of that game, but Carolina was handling them for the most part through the first 2.5, 3 quarters.
Preston?
Well, here's the thing. Coach talked about not having the minutes, but the minutes are there. Coach Staley has proved that if a freshman earns minutes, i.e. Tessa Johnson last year, she'll give them the minutes. And so all Maddie has to do is just keep doing what she's been doing, and the minutes will magically appear, especially if she's somebody that takes care of the ball and doesn't turn it over.
Tyler, speaking of the first half, I'll tell you what, let's play what Dawn Staley said about the first half and what she was hoping the offense would look like.
I mean, I don't know what I envision, right? Because sometimes we don't know what we're getting. We know what we want. Like, we really know what we're when we look good, when we're most efficient, we know what that looks like. Sometimes our players really, they don't know what that looks like because they think all open shots are good shots, and they're not. Okay, so we're sometimes struggle with that. I thought we did a really good job in the first half of taking advantage of numbers when we had them, right? And then reversing the ball when we didn't have numbers, which increases our shooting percentage. You know, I thought Duke did a great job at disrupting and not allowing us to make entry passes. And I thought we did a good job at just going a little bit deeper into our offense, where if you're not going to allow us to make an entry pass, and our post did a really good job flashing to the ball, and we played through them a lot. And it was really good to see, you know, both the guards and the post connected.
So you hear a coach there who mentions kind of gelling, that last part, hearing the post and the guards connecting. And again, you look at it, give credit. This is where Dawn Staley knows how to get her team ready for not, I guess, conference play, but I was going to say postseason play, because now you come off of this game and you've got another big challenge ahead of you coming up Sunday at 7 o'clock. They will take on TCU. Again, that game will be at Fort Worth. Gamecocks number 3 in the country, TCU number 9.
Yeah, you can't say this team's not battle-tested. And look, Dawn does this every single year with scheduling tough out-of-conference opponents to get you a real feel for where you're at and where you need to be before you go into the onslaught of conference play coming up here in a couple weeks. And again, the UCLA blip aside, Carolina's been able to handle their business and has particularly looked a whole lot better these last 3 games after they finally got humbled a little bit by the Bruins team.
Preston?
Bill, when I was listening to Coach just now, I heard a lot of basketball hands just now. How'd you feel about that? Did you feel, she said reversing, flashing to the post. How'd you feel when she was talking to you?
Well, this goes back to, and Dawn kind of said it in there, that, like, these girls don't know. I can't remember exactly how she phrased it, but it caught my attention. These girls don't know exactly what it looks like just yet to have a perfect quarter, a perfect half. And this feels like kind of what we've talked about, Preston, for almost 2 years. This is a coach that outwardly is upset that they lost to UCLA. Outwardly but on the inside, she's just smiling, because now when one of these girls says something about, well, Coach, we're winning, she goes, no, you didn't. Not only did you not beat UCLA, you got thrashed. It's my way or the highway. You'll do it my way. Look at what you did your way. And right now they've come back. You look at what they've done. This is the 3rd game in 4 games where they've played a ranked team. UCLA was number 5. Iowa State, who they then beat by 40, was number 15. They then played Purdue and beat them by, 48? And now you played number 8 Duke. So 3 top 15 teams in 4 games. And it just feels like Dawn is just relishing this. Like, she can still hold that UCLA loss, because it was pretty bad, over their head. And you hear her getting all basketball analytical and, as you said, basketball handsy. And she just, I feel like she's loving this. She is legitimately, like, she's got to do some coaching, and these young women have got to listen to her, and they've got to understand the message she's trying to get across to them. And I feel like it's been a long time since she's had to do something like that, and she's relishing the moment.
Yeah, I agree. There's nothing better than for coaches when you get a chance to coach and they can actually hear you, because they've lost and now they're willing to listen to you. So, like I said, you heard all the stuff. Versus coming off the screen, entry passes. I know that made you excited.
As I sit here and think about it, all I can envision is, like, in practice, if a girl's like, Coach, it's cool. Dawn looks at one of the assistants like, go cue up the UCLA tape when we come into the locker room. Just have it queued up. We're about to have another film session. And then they just wander into the locker room. It's like, all right, you think you're doing it right? I'll tell you what, let's watch this film, and you tell me who is the champion here. You tell me what you did right. I do. I feel like, and look, they're still, they have flaws. This is probably the most flawed team that I've seen from them in 3 or 4 years. But the thing is, they're flawed and they're a top 5 team.
Yeah, they're finding ways to win.
Yeah, I mean, this is what Dawn has built at this university to where we're looking at like number 3 team in the country.
Well,
they've lost a game. They're flawed.
And I thought there were plenty of moments last night, including when Duke was making surges, that you had a lot of your bench players on the court, and they did a good job on the broadcast bench. Like, she wants these young girls to figure it out.
Yeah.
Like, hey, yeah, I could sub some, older players in here and get this thing back under control, but I want you to get this experience of playing a tough team like this and see what you can do, so I know what I have going forward.
803-404-6100 will come back. We will wrap up our number 1. You're listening to the early game. Bill Gunner for the Men's Clinic. Dr. Dan Balknight right here in the Midlands. If you are getting older, guys, as we all are, we're all aging, we're not getting younger, and you're starting to experience some different health issues, things that you might just be shrugging off, let me be here to tell you that's not what you need to do. And at the Men's Clinic, they understand there is absolutely nothing generic about you. So why are you settling for general medical care? As we move past the age of 40, I'm 42 now, maybe you're starting to experience some things that you don't think are quite right. Little brain fog. You're forgetting things easier than normal. You're not recovering from your workouts quite as well as you used to. Maybe you're gaining weight and you're not real sure why. It seems a little abnormal. Well, these are things that happen, and it's time for you to line up an appointment and speak in a safe, comfortable environment, and that's exactly what you get at the Men's Clinic with Dr. Dan Balknight. Line up an appointment today, 803-875-MENS. You can go to their website, themensclinicsc.com, for more information. Call them today. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you. $6:48. on your Friday morning. Preston Thorne, this is usually about the time we do a vibe check. We see what everybody's vibe is. Now, I don't know what to come up with, Preston, Tyler, but here's my question. Now that the season is...
I think I got something, Bill. I think it just hit me, Bill.
Okay. All right. This is your baby. This is your sweet baby.
Right.
You love this, so let's go with what you have.
All right. The old saying goes, don't be sad that it's over. Be glad that it happened. Are we sad that we didn't make the CFP, or are we glad that we won 9 games this year?
That was the direction I was going to go. How do you feel?
There we go, Bill.
That's a good job. That's a good job. Yeah. How do we now feel going into Sunday's college football playoff? I don't think the percentage is 0, but I think there's probably a 1 or a 2. Yeah,
it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Which, in a way, I can almost appreciate the fact that we didn't get strung along for another 5 days. Like, hey, you're not going to make it, so go ahead and just change your expectations.
Right. Yeah. I won't say it's 0 just yet, but I'm with you, Tyler.
Yeah.
Let's just say that if indeed I would pretty much be willing to do the show shirtless outside on Monday if indeed they are in the playoff. That I'm willing to tell you, and everybody knows how much I despise the cold. But Preston, I think you asked a legitimate question. How do you feel right now about the season, but about the end of the season? Word it again for us, Mr. Thorne.
Don't be mad that it's over. Be glad that it happened.
Okay. So, Tyler, I'll ask you first. How do you suspect this will go?
Probably a mixed bag, which that's kind of the unfortunate part about the playoffization of college football is everything is so playoff-centric where, even back in like the BCS days, yeah, you may not go to the national championship game, but winning 10 games and going to a good bowl was a huge accomplishment that everybody was, proud to boast about, and that's not quite the same anymore, but considering the expectations coming into the season were kind of low for this team, and most of us had them somewhere around 6-7 wins. To get to 9 wins, have the chance for a 10th win, you beat your in-state rival, Clemson, you obviously had a couple of ranked wins to close out the season, 6-game winning streak. Like, this was a very fun and very good season that I think people will appreciate more and enjoy as time goes on, I think.
Tyler and Preston, what you said, a very fun and enjoyable season. I think, and I can't remember who, I think it was JC on Tuesday, who said maybe the most disappointing is he just enjoyed watching this team play.
Yeah.
Because, Tyler, we went back, and I think Preston agreed with me, the 2017 South Carolina football team won 9 games under Will Muschamp. But it wasn't like an enjoyable experience watching them. There was something that Muschamp had done that just kind of sapped the fan base of its energy, and it was, I almost want to say it was too corporate. It was too buttoned down. This was a fun year watching the growth of Lenore Sellers, watching the growth of Dylan Stewart, watching Kyle Kennard and what he became, Demetrius Knight, and following his storyline, seeing Rocket Sanders. Preston, are you with me on that? That's one thing about it, is just missing watching these guys play on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, this year was absolutely really fun to watch, and obviously we're biased because we watched the team, but if you just think about the ups and downs, the LSU game, the Alabama game, beating Oklahoma the way we did, this was a really fun season just to be a fan and watch the games. It was entertaining to know, one, to have the confidence to know that your team had an opportunity to win, and two, just the joy that you saw the players playing with. It was fun. It was a fun season to be a fan. Like you said, those Will Muschamp teams, they won 9 games, but it wasn't a lot of fun involved. This year was a lot of fun being into that. That might be why you'll be a little bit sad that it's over.
Yeah, I think so. And, and then there's the actual aspect of it that, look, this team can play with anybody. And, anybody, 1 through 12. Preston, at times, I maybe held back a little bit when we would play our game of who could South Carolina beat, and we would work our way up to a list. South Carolina, but I will also say this. I think this about the majority of the top about 18 right now. And I think that I'm enjoying this more. I think that I'm thoroughly enjoying this college football season more because I don't think Oregon wins a national championship. And quite frankly, it wouldn't shock me if we end up seeing just something that nobody wants, which ends up being like, say, I'm trying to look at for the seedings real quick of what they currently have, just to see if I could come up with like the right the right numbers. But let's just say we get I think this could happen, Tennessee at 7, a Tennessee Penn State national championship game, which I think would drive people crazy. James Franklin in a championship game. I know Preston wouldn't be happy, and nobody around here likes Tennessee, so that would be like an awful scenario. But at this point, a 3 versus 7, if that's what they actually end up being, that's exactly what I could see with the way that the parity is.
Yeah, it feels like anything's kind of possible this year with how wide open and chaotic it's been, and that does create a huge level of excitement for this first iteration of the 12-team playoff.
Preston, yeah? No?
Well, you threw me off when you said James Franklin might win the national championship.
Yeah, I knew that.
I say Preston probably drove off the road on that one.
Yeah, that's a tough one to stomach. So, I'm anti whoever could beat James Franklin. Let's get him out of here. So I guess I'm going through and trying to figure out who I would like to, what story that I want to cheer for now. I'll make my way there, but James Franklin is not one. But as far as the parity is concerned, yeah, I feel like maybe 11 out of the 12 teams that are in it, maybe 10 out of 12 have a legit opportunity to win.
Let me ask, because Preston, you got one more segment with us, or we got to turn you loose here at 7 before we get to Chris?
We're about to go into the deep woods of Whitmire. I'm probably going to be disconnected from it.
Okay, all right. So before we lose you, real quick, 30 seconds. Do you want to see Texas win the SEC championship in their first year this weekend?
No.
Knock them out, eliminate
Point
them.
blank. No, I don't. You can't be the new kid on the block and then be the winner, because that's going to justify all the trash that they've been talking all these years. And also it kind of knocks us down the peg, because we're supposed to be the big, bad SEC, and if somebody can just walk in and win, that doesn't bode well for us. So, Kirby, we're all with you this weekend.
Safe travels, Preston. We'll catch up with you Monday.
All right, appreciate y'all. See y'all on Monday. Appreciate it.
All right, now this is it. This is the final day. You've got to call. I guess actually you got tomorrow as well. But if you need your carpets cleaned, if you need your air ducts cleaned, it is time for you to call AAA. Excuse me. It's time for you to call Zerorez Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning. That's right. Zerorez, with their patented ZR water technology, has extended their Black Friday sale for this week only. That's right. You've got one more day. You got to book before December 7th to capture some incredible savings. So you need to schedule your appointment now. 803-262-4020. When you mention me, Bill Gunner at 107.5 The Game, you can book to get 3 rooms cleaned and a free hallway for just $119. You can also get 3 rooms cleaned and a sofa for $129. Or if you need your air duct cleaned, you can get them for just $75. It is the extended Black Friday sale, but you need to call today, 803-262-4020, or you can schedule online, ZerorezColumbia.com. Zerorez, spelled backwards or forwards, is the right way to clean.
All right, sun's starting to come up. Let's take a look at what's happening out there on the roadways as things start to get a little bit busier on your Friday morning, as we still have some of the same things that we were working on from earlier to be aware of, that being the disabled vehicle at I-20 westbound and Broad River Road. Go to the other side of the city, have a disabled vehicle also now out at I-77 southbound and Forest Drive that is out by exit number 12. Other than that, though, everything's still looking relatively okay for the most part. Actually, this just popped up, object in the roadway at I-20 eastbound and Monticello Road. So be careful as you make your way through there. Again, still very cold outside, 28 degrees here in downtown Columbia. I'd say only going to get up to 45, 53 tomorrow, and 66 on Sunday. That's your traffic and weather in the early game.
Seven a.m., first week of December, as we will go into championship weekend here for college football. Several championship games taking place starting tonight. Tyler Head, and we'll get to those coming up in just a little while. Coming up in the next segment, we'll get in touch with Chris Deering, talk about the high school football playoffs as we count down until the state championships, getting a lot closer to those as we dealt with, obviously, Hurricane Helene earlier this year that moved everything back by about a week. So we will catch up with Chris Deering coming up in the next segment. But just recapping what we talked about in hour number one yesterday, and I tried to sing Aladdin in the opening segment.
Wasn't bad. It was like 6 out of 10.
I think Preston was right. I went into it and I didn't share the confidence. I didn't fully buy in. It's kind of like hitting a golf shot. You got to be fully invested.
You got to put your whole heart into it.
Had to really sing it, but I was telling everybody it is a whole new world. I'm not going to give it a second effort. More people listen in the 7 o'clock hour. I don't need to be ridiculed for it. But a whole new world now for South Carolina athletics. And this is not anything against Ray Tanner, who I think has done some really good things and surrounded himself with really good people. But it is a corporate college athletics, whether we like it or not, is a corporate industry. I don't need the former coach judging coaches in the manner that maybe they used to be judged by other coaches who are now athletic directors. It's a business.
It is. And again, when Ray came in as the athletic director over a decade ago, there still were a lot of people that, in that role across the country that were former coaches and stuff like that. But the game has obviously changed with NIL and the portal and all those kind of things. And you need somebody that does kind of have that other kind of business sense that, again, like you said earlier, doesn't necessarily know the X's and O's of what's happening on the field, on the court or whatever, but understands how to move things, how to make things happen when it comes to, stadium renovations, when it comes to NIL and all those kind of things. And again, this guy, Jeremiah Denoti, comes from a great background and obviously has experience doing those things at TCU, which is plenty of reason to be excited what he's going to do here at Carolina.
Yeah, you need a negotiator. You need a cut. It's what I think that you've got to have in this day and age, a cutthroat businessman who knows how to sit at the negotiating table and get what he wants, whether it's with contracts and buyouts for coaches, whether it is, as you just mentioned, and it's a good point, renovations for your athletic facilities, and even now knowing how to put your athletics department, everything from women's basketball to women's golf to men's basketball to football, everything, you've got to put your coaches and your players in the best position to achieve the NIL deals that they want. That's what makes your program attractive. And Jeremiah Donati is a younger guy. We talked about it. To me, one of the more impressive things, you brought it up yesterday, and I read a little bit more on it, was his involvement with Lee Steinberg's agency and knowing how to represent players and get them the best deals possible.
And he made mention of this in his presser yesterday that, look, Carolina is not a fixer-upper. It's a program that's obviously in a good place and continue to rise. And they have a national championship level basketball program on the women's side of things. And obviously football's in a really good place right now. And I think it's good to be able to bring in somebody that can, kind of give a fresh perspective, a new set of eyes onto what you already have.
Tell you what, let's listen to, this is what he said yesterday, the benefit from working with Lee Steinberg, because this is the new era of college football. You've got to have a guy who understands NIL and understands giving your players opportunities for NIL. Whether we like it or not, it's here. Here is what he had to say yesterday.
Well, Lee, if you're watching, I love you. Hope all's well in Newport Beach. Lee actually represented a student athlete here not too long ago at USC. At the time, I wouldn't have known, right? Because, we were doing marketing deals before there was NIL. In fact, I always thought it was interesting that, the pros could do NIL deals, but the college students, couldn't. So when NIL started becoming a concept, if you will, I was one of the first that was an advocate for it. So all that to be said, that experience was invaluable, and Lee was so great to me. He's a mentor. For those of you who don't know Lee, you can watch the movie Jerry Maguire. He's the inspiration of that movie, and I'm forever grateful for the 5 years I had with him in California. So it was, at the time, I never would have imagined that getting a law degree and working in a sports agency would prepare you so well, for the post-COVID NIL world, but it did, hopefully, and so here we are. But I'm very grateful for my time with Lee.
So that's a big part of it.
Yep.
That I think being, look, like we said, there is the college athletic director's job now, kind of like the college football coach. The job has evolved. It's evolved, and you have to know how to not only handle boosters and raise money, but you've got to be able to you've got to be so forward thinking that you're going to Shane Beamer and Lamont Paris and Dawn Staley and Tony Annan and Shelley Smith, all these coaches, and going, here's the plan to give you the money necessary to go on the recruit, because that's what it is.
Yeah, you're essentially in a CEO type of role now with the nature of what college sports is and what it's going to continue to be as NIL and everything continues to evolve. And again, you can't learn from anybody better than Lee Steinberg, as you mentioned there, that gives you that valuable experience he's obviously been able to use at TCU, overseeing renovation projects and the NIL out there and all those kind of things over what's been some pretty successful sports programs for them as well.
I thought this was interesting yesterday because I've never thought about it this way. But he was asked if there is an advantage to being in a true college town. And Preston and I talk about this off air. Tyler, you're younger than us and didn't go to school here, so you don't quite understand what we're saying when we see this. But sitting here on 1301 Gervais Street, right here, we're just a block up from the State House. We have these huge windows that you hear me complain about all the time, getting cold, but we can watch during the mornings. Tyler, when you're doing your show from 9 to 12, you can probably look behind you occasionally, and there's students walking to class. The Columbia has evolved from when I was in college 20 years ago. It has evolved from when Preston was in college. And Preston and I talk about this, and Columbia becoming more of a true college town. And by that I mean, Preston and I laugh, we used to drive all over to get to our classes.
Yeah.
Like, there was no walking. We see walking from Main Street, as I'm doing this on radio. I guess you can always go to our YouTube page and see what I'm talking about as I flail my hands about. But students walking and it being more of a college town, growing and growing. You got student housing that's going back toward Findlay Park and going back toward Elmwood, maybe not that far, but you get the point. As opposed to Fort Worth, Dallas, which is corporate. It's business.
Yeah.
It's the Cowboys.
It is. And look, here in Columbia, the city is the school. Like, the school's everywhere in the city, and you feel that presence no matter where you are. And I've never been to Dallas, but I imagine you don't feel that for TCU out there.
So let's, because one of the things he was asked about the advantage of being in a true college town as opposed to being in Dallas, Fort Worth. Here is his answer, which I thought was really interesting.
Maybe. We'll see. I think so. I think, I'm really looking forward to getting on the road and seeing the areas around here and getting to know where our fan bases are and kind of what's on their mind. But you're right. As I was flying in last night, it occurred to me just how vast this area is spread out. And so it's really neat to be in such a college town. Fort Worth's a college town, but it's very different, as you said. I think Fort Worth's the 13th biggest state in the country. Someone made the point to me that a short while ago here that the university used to build into the city, and now the city builds into the school. And so the city of Columbia really is the University of South Carolina. It's pretty neat. So I haven't had that opportunity. I grew up in Pullman, Washington, which is at a much smaller scale. So to answer your question, it's fun to see. I mean, I met 30 people walking around town today, and they're all wearing garnet and black. It was almost like they were kind of staged, kind of released them, And so that was, in fact, the very first person I met last night recognized me and wanted to have a conversation about NIL and what we were going to be doing for some of our players. So Coach Beamer will talk afterwards, but I'm looking forward to being in a true college town and just jumping right in.
You get more support. We are focused on this university, good or bad.
Sure.
I had a conversation with Mark Kingston once, and when he was the coach here, and one of the things that we agreed upon, baseball is a big deal here. It's not everywhere else. And when you win, we honor you. Yep. We support you. We love. And when you lose in baseball in particular, you get criticized.
Yeah, there's a reason he's no longer here anymore.
Yeah, I mean, no offense to him, but that is this city, this town. They are invested in the Gamecocks. They are going to be invested. Jeremiah Donati is going to be judged differently here because you're going to have a whole city, and a whole fan base, but basically staring at you going, all right, what are you doing? Are you doing this right? Are you making the right hires? Are you putting us in the right position?
And like you mentioned there, the first person he met knew who he was and was talking to him about what he's going to do when he gets here. I imagine he could walk down the street in Dallas-Fort Worth, probably not be recognized by too many people as the TCU athletic director. It's different here. Everybody knows who you are. Everybody knows what you've done, and they're going to be interested in talking to you about what you're going to do going forward.
And unlike there where maybe the opinion is more about the Cowboys or maybe the Mavericks or I don't know the Rangers. Maybe I don't know what Dallas.
Yeah, I would say where's TCU on the pecking order in that area? It's not at the top.
And it's probably still behind Texas and Texas A&M.
Probably.
So you're exactly right. And one thing he'll learn quickly is, while there maybe the opinion of TCU, it might have here. Everybody has a strong opinion about what you should be doing.
Yes.
So
You'll get a lot of recommendations.
He steps into. He's going to be joined by a lot of other armchair athletic directors, but we'll see. So it's a whole new world for South Carolina. He will get going January 2nd will be his first day. We'll talk more about that as we go through the month, but certainly a new step for South Carolina, new athletic director, and I think still a lot is owed to Ray Tanner and to his entire staff over the last 10 years for what they've done. I've spoken a lot about it, just in particular to the atmosphere that him and his creative team have been able to build at Williams-Brice Stadium and around Williams-Brice Stadium to build that atmosphere into what it is.
And I think it's, respectable and great that, Ray is kind of stepping away when he is, because we are about to go through this big change. And, if Ray's not going to be around for, 5 to 8 years from now, I think it's good to go ahead and make the change right now and have somebody that comes in with that knowledge and experience from that kind of background that's going to be able to spearhead all things going forward with this new era of college football. And again, it seems like Jeremiah Donati is the right guy for that.
803-404-6100. We'll catch up with Chris Deering when we come back, talk some high school highlights of the week. You're listening to the early game. Bill Gunner for the Mortgage Guru, Jacob Crowder with First Palmetto Bank. Now, you've heard me mention the Mortgage Guru many a time, and I want to remind you, he helped me about 4 or 5 years ago get into my home on Lake Murray, my condo. And most importantly, what Jacob did was find the right interest rate, the right plan for my monthly mortgage payments to be able to make it affordable. And that's what he can do for you today. That's why you need to give him a phone call. If you're thinking about refinancing, if you're thinking about buying, if you're thinking about building, you need to see what kind of loans are available to you, what kind of mortgage plans are available. That is your first step to being able to find what you can afford. So call Jacob Crowder today. Speak with him on things such as the community reinvestment product for Richland County. If you're thinking about moving to Richland County, or you're in Richland County and you're thinking about moving around, now is the time to call Jacob Crowder. 803-719-1005. Again, that's 803-719-1005. Call Jacob Crowder today. Tell him Bill Gunner sent you.
All right, let's take another peek at that traffic and weather for your ride in on this Friday morning. Things are starting to get a little bit more busy out there on the roadways. Still have that object in the roadway at I-20 eastbound and Monticello Road. Be careful as you're going through there, as well as the disabled vehicle at I-77 southbound and Forest Drive over by exit number 12. And as you're a little bit further into the city, you are closer to the city, you get disabled vehicle at 277 southbound and Faro Road as well. No major accidents, though, that I'm seeing as of right now. Hopefully it does stay that way. Still very cold in downtown Columbia. Currently sitting at about 28 degrees. High today, again, only 45 degrees with plenty of sunshine. 53 tomorrow and 66 on Sunday. Traffic and weather on the early game.
7:19 as we roll along on your Friday morning. Hope you're doing well. Get up, get at 'em. Kids, demand that your parents get you a donut. Uncle Bill says it is Donut Friday, and there's nothing more delicious than maybe a chocolate sprinkled or vanilla sprinkled or strawberry sprinkled donut to start the Friday.
You're just trying to entice Brian Glenn to bring you a donut later.
That would be very sweet of Brian Glenn. Yes, I'm a child too and would like a donut. So, Brian Glenn, please, if you're out there taking the kids to school, Willow and Liam, please stop and get us a donut. We would be very appreciative. 803-404-6100. Out to the phone lines we go. A man who would bring us donuts if he came in studio, but he doesn't. Chris Deering joining us now for what's going to be a chilly edition of a semifinal high school football playoffs tonight. Chris?
Yeah, I'll tell you, I was looking at the hour by hour last night and again this morning. Around kickoff tonight, we could be right around the freezing mark. And I've been doing this a long time. I can't think of another Friday night where we've had temperatures right around the 32-degree mark at kickoff. I'm sure it's happened in my career of covering high school sports, but I can't remember many nights where I'm not looking forward to going out in the cold. And I like to play football in a little bit of cold weather, but this could be cold tonight. But I'm sure Tom Knox will be in his short pants, and everything will be fine over at Dutch Fork tonight.
That's where we'll start. 5A there. 5A, what is it? How do I label this? 5A D1 football bracket, I guess is how they've got it labeled. Dutch Fork hosting Spartanburg, 7:30 tonight.
Yeah, these teams are very familiar with each other. They've played each other the last few years. Matter of fact, they played earlier this season with Spartanburg, with Dutch Fork going up to Spartanburg and winning 24-7. Ethan Offering in that game had 3 touchdown passes, 2 to Boykin Bickley. And that defense that we've talked about all year for Dutch Fork held Spartanburg to 130 yards of total offense. But, a lot has changed since then. Both teams have gotten better. I'm looking forward. I'm going to this game tonight, so I'm looking forward to seeing Spartanburg linebacker Cam Rich Smith. He's a Shrine Bowl selection. He's really good. So he's got to have a big night to slow down that Dutch Fork offense. And then Spartanburg on the flip side is going to have to find a way to go against Josh Smith, Elijah Sessions, Riley Salters, guys we've talked about all year, and find a way to score some points on that Dutch Fork defense. In 11 games, they've allowed 73 points. That's pretty impressive. I don't care how you cut it. So they have played well all season, and I've always said you got to score at least 20-something to beat Dutch Fork, and nobody's done it this year. So it'll be interesting to see how tonight goes.
The winner of that game, and I guess I'm pulling for this, they get the winner of Sumter. That at Summerville tonight. So we could have a Preston Thorne takes on Dutch Fork situation next Friday. Those two teams, by the way, the winners play next Friday at 2 p.m. What do you got on Summerville-Sumter?
So, I was doing some research on this game this week, and it's hard for me to believe Somerville has not been in the state championship since the mid-2000s, hasn't won one since the late 1990s. And that's, for the longest time under John McKissick, that was unheard of in that area. They're in the state semifinals for the second year in a row. They lost to White Knoll last year in this game, in the semifinal game. So I know they're looking to get back to a state championship and bring their big fan base to Orangeburg next week for the state championship. But, Sumter has been a team that's hit on all cylinders all season long. Anthony Addison, he signed with South Carolina on Wednesday, actually having a ceremony at his school this morning because his parents were out of town this week. So he's good on defense. Jeremiah Brunson, the Thompson Durant kid that plays a little bit of hybrid linebacker type safety. He's good on defense. And if I had to give somebody in home and win, and that's never an easy task going into Somerville and winning. So that's going to be a good one to watch. I mean, that's obviously because that game impacts Dutch Fork next week or Spartanburg. I'm going to be watching that game. I got somebody down there that's going to be giving me updates. So I'll be watching that score very closely all night.
Let's go to 5A D2, where you get a battle of two upstate powers and a battle of two Midlands powers. Let's real quick, give me your thoughts. Northwestern Gaffney at Northwestern tonight in the upstate.
Yeah, Northwestern's a team. Finley Polk, their quarterback, has been fantastic all season. He's got weapons all over the field. They're undefeated. They beat Dutch Fork in the scrimmage. They feel like they can stake a claim as being one of the best teams in the state. And Gaffney's just kept winning. Very, very passionate fan base. They could travel over to Rock Hill tonight, I'm certain. Their quarterback. He's a transfer from here in the Midlands area, and his name escapes me right now. Gilmore.
Javon Gilmore. I think he's still committed to Arkansas, if I'm thinking correctly.
Yeah, still committed to Arkansas. So he's been really good this season. So that's going to be a big-time matchup with a lot of great players on both sides of the football. And that's going to be probably one of the better atmospheres, I think, in the state tonight.
Now, here in the Midlands, we get a really good one over at Irmo High School. A.J. Brand trying to finish things out, get to the state championship game. Donovan Murph, we're all waiting on his official announcement on his school coming up in January. Winner of Northwestern Gaffney will play the winner of Irmo White Knoll. It'll be next Saturday, the 14th at 6 p.m. So what do you see here in Irmo and White Knoll?
This is a rematch from October 18th. Irmo won that game 35-21, but it was tied to start the fourth quarter at 21-21. So I think this is going to be a very competitive game. I think that's White Knoll's last loss. They've played a lot better since then. Landon Sharp, we talk about A.J. Brand all the time and what he brings to the table. And, fantastic athlete, signed with Virginia Tech on Wednesday. Just a fantastic football player. But Landon Sharp has been a 4-year starter at White Knoll, so don't discount what that kid can do. He don't get the pub that maybe a lot of these other kids do, but he's really good. I like what he does for that offense. And then I think where White Knoll's improved maybe more than anything is a little bit on defense. So nobody's really slowed Irmo down this year. I think their lowest point total in any game has been 35 points. So it'll be key if they can keep, Irmo in the upper 20s and maybe, find a way to get an extra touchdown tonight. But that's going to be a big-time game, too. Again, all these games, we've got 12 games across the state tonight. All of them are really good matchups. I don't really see a clear-cut winner in any 6 yards and 6 touchdowns. I mean, that's a season for some kids. He did it in one night. And Woods last week was spectacular. 5 touchdowns in the first half against Camden. Chamaris Bomar and Amari Weaver as his 2 top targets. They both were committed to App State and did not sign on Wednesday because of the coaching change at App State. So those kids are back looking for a home to play college ball, but really talented wide receivers. And that's going to be, again, that's another big-time matchup with those 2 teams.
And then in the lower state, South Florence makes a trip over to North Augusta. Another Gamecock commitment signee, Jaden Sellers for South Florence and the Bruins.
Yeah, Sellers played well last week. He had a touchdown, but their quarterback probably was the difference in their win over Hartsville last week. Messiah Jackson had 6 total touchdowns in that game, and if he's playing that well, they could be hard to beat. Zion Gilbert had a big game at running back. Terry Gordon, their linebacker, who's really talented, he's had a great season and a great game. But, this North Augusta team, they've sort of been under the radar a little bit this year, but I did see them in the preseason and was really impressed. Michael Doe, their running back, he's as good as you'll see at this stage of the season. And then Corey Tillman, their quarterback, he does a lot of great things. You don't throw it as much as he does run it, but North Augusta is going to be a team to be hard to beat, and South Florence got to get on that bus and travel across the state. So that's going to be a big challenge for them. But, they've been there and done it. They played the state championship against Westside last year, so they're looking to have maybe a rematch.
Reminder tonight, 9 p.m., you can catch the Love Chevy High School Football Scoreboard Show. Justin Hall and Elijah Campbell to keep you updated on all this. Chris, if you don't mind, we're going to take a break, come back. We'll get to the 3A, 2A, and 1A levels, let you break those down as it's going to be a fun night. This is where everybody wants to be if you're at the high school level, and several teams will give them their due for a few minutes. You're listening to – is that all right with you, Chris? We're not keeping you, right?
Yep.
Okay.
No, I'm
Again, tonight, You can catch the Love Chevy High School Scoreboard football show right here on 107.5 The Game and keep up with everybody. And we appreciate Love Chevrolet sponsoring that because, well, they're the absolute best in the Midlands. With 14 acres to choose from the $1,000 low price guarantee, which means you can shop other dealerships right here in the Midlands and take their deal back to the folks at Love Chevrolet, you simply cannot top what Love Chevrolet offers. That's why they've been the #1 volume Chevy dealership right here in the Midlands, and they're ready to continue that tradition with their year-end savings. You don't want to miss this. Get out to I-26 in Harbison between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park, or go visit them online, lovechevy.com. It's cold today. Maybe you just want to visit the website. It really is the most wonderful time of the year with the biggest discounts and the most abundant selection they have had in decades. So go visit Love Chevrolet, I-26 in Harbison between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park. Visit them on the web, lovechevy.com. And together, let's drive.
And time for another look at your traffic and weather for your ride in on this Friday morning. Still have the object in the roadway at I-20 eastbound and Monticello Road. Be careful as you're going through there. Disabled vehicle at I-77 southbound at Forest Drive. And then another disabled vehicle at 277 southbound and Farrow Road as well. A little bit farther outside the city, also have another object in the roadway. So much stuff in the roadway today, for whatever reason, out at I-20 westbound near exit number 87 as well. Again, update, still very cold here in downtown Columbia, only sitting at about 28 degrees. High today is expected to get up to 45. Plenty of sunshine, just very, very cold. Tomorrow, 53, and then a high of 65 coming up on Sunday. That's your traffic and weather on the early game.
7:35 as we roll along. Chris Deering staying on the line with us to give us the high school highlights of the week as we hit the semifinals next week, next Friday and Saturday. You'll have state championship weekend. And, Chris, very quickly, just remind everybody where state championship.
Both of those games for Prep Red Zone. And then I think you mentioned 5A Division 1 or 2. Is it 2 o'clock on Friday?
One of them was 2 o'clock. Yeah, 2 o'clock. Let's see. I don't have the complete schedule in front of me. I've got the breakdown of the brackets. So, like right now, I'm looking at, I believe, the 3A bracket. The 3A bracket. So, for example, the 3A bracket has. We'll get to these games in a second. But 12 noon next Saturday would be the 3A bracket,
Okay.
and I believe it was the 5A Division 2.
Division
5A
1
was.
Friday.
5A Division 1 was next Friday at 2 o'clock. 5A Division 2 is next Saturday at 6, I believe is what I saw.
Yeah, and Class 4A will be Friday night. So state championship games over 3 days. I know people are complaining about the day games on Thursday and Friday, but I think it's the best case scenario for what we have right now, the way the setup is with 6 state champions. We get later into the season with basketball and baseball and some other sports. It's going to have impacts as well. So this is where we are in the state of athletics now. You have to play some day games to get everything in. And I'm sure those people will find a way to get off from work, find a way to get out of school, and get down to support their programs if they make it to a state championship.
Let's go to the 3A real quick here. Let's start down in the Low Country. Loris and Oceanside Collegiate taking on each other 7 o'clock tonight.
Yeah, Loris is a newcomer to this deep runs in the playoffs. This freshman class, when they started their first year, a lot of them played as freshmen. They only had 4 wins, and now I think they're sitting on 11, looking to advance to the state championship. They've never played in one before. They have a quarterback and maybe on the all-name team, and Moon Gerald. He's been really good this year. Mikael Stevens, he's been good at running back. So this Oceanside team, they've played together for a long time. These kids have grown up. They said, I read a story, they've grown up playing rec ball together, and now one went away from playing for a state championship. So the big time for Loris to get this far. They get to host the game tonight against Oceanside, a team that won the state championship last year, won 2A over Great Collegiate. Their quarterback is back. He was a freshman last year, Aiden Manavian. He's got 33 touchdown passes on the season. So that's a really impressive sophomore campaign for him. Will Virgilio, I think, is his top wide receiver. He also plays defensive end. So that Oceanside team's, they're talented. They played a really tough schedule. They have 3 losses, but, they played Dutch Fork earlier in the year. I think they played some other 5A schools. So they're battle-tested, and like I said, they won a state championship last year and going to play a Loris team that's making their first appearance in the state semifinals. Okay,
I'm not going to lie. I have no clue who Mountain View Prep is. That feels brand new, and they're taking on Belton Honeypath tonight, BHP, down at wherever Mountain View Prep is.
Mountain View Prep is in Spartanburg County.
Okay.
School first year in existence, and playing in the state semifinals. So that's impressive in itself. I think Blythewood back in the mid 2000s is the only school to ever win a state championship in their first year of existence. And if you remember that team, that was Brad Scott's son was the quarterback on that team. Way back. So. Mountain View Prep got a chance to make history. Like I said, brand new school, charter school. I think they're in the same thing with Gray and Oceanside Collegiate. So another charter school, but they've run roughshod over people all season long, and they have a running back, Jalen McGill. He's really good. Their quarterback, Bryson Drummond, he's over 2,000 yards. Their wide receiver, KD Hainsworth, he's right at 1,000 yards on the season. So really a very talented MVP team that they got players from all over. Let's just say how it is, and they've made it work and been really successful in their first year of existence. Playing a BHP team, again, Marquise Henderson, he's signed with Clemson on Wednesday. He's got over 2,200 yards of total offense on the season. So big-time running back matchup in this one with Henderson and McGill going against each other. Both of them are over 2,000 yards of total offense on the season. So that was going to be one to watch. I think BHP has been a team that didn't get a lot of. I mean, they've been ranked in the top 10 all year, but they've been overshadowed by the MVPs and some other schools, and I think they want to try to make a statement tonight.
2A just sounds like great South Carolina high school football. Clinton, as some would read the name, takes on Fairfield Central tonight. Fairfield Central has been mugging and mauling everything in their path, 60-6, 41-6, 48-20 last week, and they get Clinton tonight.
Yeah, this is a game that a lot of people thought maybe Batesburg-Leesville would be in this game, but Clinton was able to knock them off last week. Really dominant second half by Clinton in that game to win it. Their linebacker, Brett Young, really talented player, does a lot of things for that team. He's probably the emotional leader and everything else around that team. Their running back, Javon Cook, he's right at 2,000 yards again on the season. But what Tydarian Greer has done at Fairfield Central, I mean, week in and week out, we do game balls on Prep Red Zone every week, and I can't keep the kid out of the game ball selection every week because it's 200 yards here, 250 yards next week, 5 touchdowns one week. So he's really carried that team. Caden Diggs is the quarterback. Let's give him his props. He's played really well, but getting the ball to Greer has been the top priority. Greer's a Shrine Bowl selection. Running back, so that's been a big key for them. And both of these teams have state championship game experience. It's been a while, so they both would like to get back as programs, and that'll be a nice one up there in Clinton tonight.
And let's get to one more real quick. We're about out of time. The War Horses, my old contingent of friends that are Barnwell fans, they get Manning tonight at Barnwell. Barnwell scored in the final seconds last week to knock off Sherrall, and here comes Manning tonight. It'll be a fun one down there in Barnwell.
Yeah, that Barnwell game last week was a little bit nuts the way that went in. And, they scored with 30 seconds to go to take the lead, and then had to withstand a furious rally where a kid caught the ball behind the defense but apparently stepped out of bounds inside the 5, and so they were able to hang on and win 28-27. Cameron Austin, we've talked about him a lot this year, 2,600 yards of total offense. He's what stirs the drink over there at Barnwell, and he's got a running back nearby, Brown, who's nearing 1,000 yards on the season. But they're going up against a Manning team that hadn't lost since week 1. And what Manning's going to do, they're going to line up and run the football right at you. No trickery. They want to run the football, and they want to run it some more. Jontavius Canty had 165 yards last week. John Cord had 120 yards. And maybe the key in this one is Manning's defense has forced 28 turnovers on the season. Barnwell's turned it over some, so if they can protect the football tonight, that'll be really key in that one.
Chris, we always appreciate it. It's a great rundown tonight. We'll have you back next. I'll be out next Friday, but I know Preston will look to catch up with you and maybe, hopefully be talking about the Summerville Green Wave playing for the state championship. Have a great night. Stay warm, and we look forward to catching up with you.
All right, great. You have a great weekend, Bill.
You too. Take care. Chris Deering joining us as he does each and every week for the high school highlights of the week. We'll come back, wrap up hour number 2. You're listening to Bill Gunner, Tyler Head. It is the early game. Bill Gunner from Mid-State Roofing, where for nearly 30 years, Larry Leitner and the family have been the proven leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry. And it's that history that is your assurance that their professionals will provide proper advice, service, and results to the needs of your facility. And let me tell you, they do that 24 hours a day. 7 days a week. You heard that right. Right now, 7:46 in the morning. If you've discovered a leak, if you've noticed an issue with your roof, your home, or your business, guess what? Mid-State Roofing is ready to take your phone call. An on-call technician or a Mid-State Roofing employee will be there to handle your phone call, help you with a maintenance contract, and get your operation dry and running again long into the future. So don't hesitate. Give them a phone call. 803-356-1919. Again, that's 803-356-1919. Whether you're here in Columbia, Florence, Myrtle Beach, Aiken, Augusta, Charleston, wherever you're listening this morning, Mid-State Roofing is ready to help you. So give them a phone call. 803-356-1919. 1919. Eight zero 803-404-6100 if you want to text in this morning as we get you up and get you going. Brian Glenn set to join us coming up in the next hour, and we will take a deeper dive into what is kind of going on around the college football world. We'll look at those championship games that get going tonight, Tulane and Army, Boise State and UNLV. The fun ones tonight, Boise State and UNLV. It's an elimination game. It's an elimination game for the college football playoff. And coming up in the next hour, Tyler and myself and Brian Glenn, we'll give our picks against the spread, and we'll break those down a little bit more. We'll also do our Gamecock whip around, our preview for the weekend, and our review of the week. Gamecock Athletics, solid week. Solid week.
Pretty good. Minus what happened on Tuesday night, I guess.
Do it now.
Minus what happened on Tuesday night. But
oh, yeah. With the football. I was like, they won. Yeah.
Everything else has been good.
Everything else has been relatively good. One season came to a close, but we'll tell you all about that coming up in the next segment, next hour. 803-404-6100 if you want to weigh in. So this was interesting news in the college football world yesterday. We'll focus more on the games coming up in the next hour. Bill Belichick in the college game, up the road at North Carolina, interviewing or speaking with North Carolina about its opening. Tyler Head, here's the thing. I think this could work.
Do you?
If he is basically the coach, but it would have to be a more sensible Herm Edwards approach to the program. Belichick does the coaching, but you have to have everybody else handling recruiting, handling the players. It's almost, and I don't even know if that works, but I can't see Belichick having to cater to a 16 or 17-year-old in the recruiting business.
No, Belichick is definitely one of those rare NFL coaches that truly had control over his entire team, and the egos never really got out of hand there. Yeah, I don't think he'd want to be dealing with 18-year-olds, especially in today's world of NIL and stuff like that. So, yes, if that was going to happen, which I don't think there's a high likelihood it's going to, he would definitely primarily be focusing on the X and O's and let somebody else handle the other stuff.
I am pulling for it to happen.
Oh, it'd be a great story if it did.
I'm pulling for it to happen. I don't know how serious they really are.
Imagine you're an 18-year-old kid that just signed to North Carolina, Wednesday on early signing day, and now you find out Bill Belichick is your head coach. And look, Mac Brown, obviously a great, well-accomplished coach, but this is Bill bleeping Belichick. Multiple Super Bowl rings and no-nonsense kind of guy. I'd be interested to see what that first team meeting looks like.
According to Ben Sherman with 24/7 Sports, he says Matt Campbell is a guy that they are targeting.
Isn't Matt Campbell on the list for every job that becomes available?
He used to be, and it felt like there was a dive. It felt like he was destined for a Big Ten job, an Ohio State, a Michigan, one of these. And it just, there was a little bit of a dive there at Iowa State. Now he's got him back. They're in the Big 12 playoff tomorrow, and the Big 12 championship game tomorrow. He could win and have them in the college football playoff, which wouldn't be that crazy. They're 10-2. It felt for a long time he was, and it felt like he was being very picky about his jobs. And then again, he kind of fell off. I don't know if this is the moment he makes the move. And quite frankly, I was looking at some North Carolina message boards the other day. They're not real happy with their administration and the dedication to the not just in football, but across the board, basketball included, to the new era of college athletics with NIL and what you have to do with fundraising. And this is where we go back to the new athletic director at South Carolina being cutting edge and having to be on top of things. And North Carolina's not been that.
If I'm going to take this North Carolina job, my first question is, am I second fiddle to basketball? Because that's the perception, is that the majority of resources go to basketball because that's what's the bigger deal down there. But if I'm coming to North Carolina, especially in a conference like the ACC that's very top-heavy, outside of the Clemsons and the SMUs and the Miami, there's not a whole lot of threats in that conference as of right now. It's very attainable to get to the top, but I need to know I have the resources. I'm going to need to succeed there, and they're not all going to the hardwood.
Well, my question is, do you feel stable going to North Carolina with the ACC? As a whole, that's almost the bigger one. That's the bigger one. Like, are you asking questions like, are we stuck here financially? Where if we are stuck in the ACC, we're going to be behind the teams that are around us. Not look, Clemson's going to pour. Clemson's going to have more money,
sure,
and they're going to pour every dime and dollar into football. Forget they're playing basketball at a high level right now, and in baseball they've been pretty good. But to keep up with the Joneses, every dime and dollar Clemson will go to football.
Clemson would happily push baseball and basketball off a cliff if it meant football was successful. So not the same in North Carolina.
While I think that Clemson will fall behind financially, I don't think they're going to fall behind as much as people believe because, again, if it comes to the university, it goes over to the football department and use it. According to, again, Ben Sherman here with North Carolina's Inside Carolina, right now, the Bill Belichick thing's really neat and cool. He's not one of the top two. Right now, top two for them are Matt Campbell, as we just mentioned, as well as John Summerall, the other coach that they are paying close attention to. Apparently, they have interviewed Army's Jeff Monken as well, Georgia's Glenn Schumann, defense coordinator, and Freddie Kitchens, who we all remember from our time. So keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on that because also it's an opening for South Carolina to get into the state of North Carolina, maybe grab a recruit or two that maybe they wouldn't or not have as good a chance in the 2026 cycle. So we'll come back. We'll get into our Gamecock wraparound, look at the other sports that's taking place, and get into some college football next hour. It's the early game. It is cold. And trust me, I know cold. I despise the cold. This is cold. If your heating and air unit is struggling, if it's staggering, if you are not sure it is going to make it through the winter, take it from someone who despises being cold. Call AAA Heating and Air today. That's exactly what they did for me about 20 months ago. They came out, put in a brand new heating and air unit. Guess what? Gunner household, not cold anymore. Very thankful for AAA Heating and Air, and you will be too. Not only do they do an incredible job, professionalism, top-notch service, the installation, they explained how it even helps save with energy energy cost. Everything was absolutely top-notch. But then they offer some of the greatest deals possible, such as right now you can just call 803-677-1500. Get a free replacement estimate. Just find out what it may cost. Then when you purchase a brand new heating and air unit, you can get no interest and no payments. You heard that right. No interest, no payments until December of 2025. Call AAA Heating and Air today. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you. 803-677-1500.
All right, taking a look at your traffic and weather for your ride in on this Friday morning as things get a little bit busier out there on the roadways there by making their way in. Still got that disabled vehicle, 277 South, right there at Farrow Road, so be mindful as you're going through that area. Have an accident out at Old Cherokee Road and Old Chapin Road as well. Go a little bit north of the city. Got an accident at Hardscrabble and Clemson Road, too. Taking a look at the weather. Again, still very cold. Not going to get much warmer today. It's currently 28 degrees here in downtown Columbia. High today is only 45. High tomorrow 53, and then 65 on Sunday. That's your traffic and weather here on the early game.
$8 a.m. as we get you up and get you going here on your Friday morning. Tyler Head filling in for Jen Jensen and doing an admirable job, not yelling at me, not shooting a Nerf gun at me, not correcting me for all my mistakes, to which I'm very appreciative.
You know, I don't work with you every single day, so if I did, I might understand Jen's frustration a little more.
It's very possible as well. Very possible as well. Preston Thorne was heading up to get the kids all excited about reading today as we slowly close out the month, the school portion of the month. I know it's on December the 6th, but I think 2 more weeks for school.
Yeah, I guess they would. Their last day would be that Friday before Christmas, I'm assuming.
The 20th, I believe, is correct.
It'll be the night of the first playoff game.
I was going to say, that'll lead us into the college football playoff. Yeah, Sun last night, first middle school basketball game, 7th grader out at Gilbert as they knocked off Batesburg. So I'll give a shout-out to those Gilbert middle school 7th graders as they won last night, and that's where I was at, hanging out. And
what kind of parent are you?
Trying to be quieter.
Okay.
One point last night being my background in coaching, I went straight from playing for Bailey Harris to going into coaching. I was a freshman at the University of South Carolina and went back and was coaching the 7th and 8th grade team, I believe, maybe the 9th grade. I can't remember, a long time ago. But so I went straight into coaching at Lexington and coached there and ended up coaching the 9th grade team for a long time. Coached the JV team, was an assistant to Bailey. So my background has always been in coaching. There was a long time where I thought I would go into the path of education and becoming a high school basketball coach. And here in the state, a lot of my good friends have been Thomas Ryan up at Dorman, Ben Lee over at River Bluff, two guys in particular that I've known very well. Devin Leifridge is somewhere around here now coaching and does an incredible job. I think I can't remember where Devin's at now. Jay Reed is over here at Ben Lippen. They had a good start to the season. And I know I'm leaving out several other friends that are coaching around the Midlands, that are coaching the high school basketball level. But with all that being said, that's where I thought I would go. So I still have the coach in me that's watching a game.
Sure.
And even though watching my son. So like last night, obviously it's a middle school game. There's not many people there in the facility, in the gym, and the team they were playing was cutting into the passing lanes, and I bellowed out in my coaching voice, "You got to go to the ball. You got to go to the ball." And I don't want to step on the actual coach's toes, but basically the 10 players on the court turned and looked at me like, "Oh, I got it." And then Lauren looked at me and told me to shut up. So thank you, Ben. Ben tells me Devin is at Greer. Speaking of which, 26 years ago, Ben and Devin and that senior group let us carry that with me. Now I'm just trying to be dad.
It's hard to break that.
Dad needs to be more quiet.
Yeah. Yeah, just go son. Go team.
Yes,
yeah, that's it's hard to kind of reel that back in.
We're working on that. Did a better job, except for one moment last night where, again, I saw something and thought that I needed to intervene. And so anyway, I'll try and get better at that. 803-404-6100. Let's do our Gamecock wraparound, whip around. Let's tell you about everything going on in Gamecock Nation right now.
3 wide receivers over to the left side. Harbor over to the right. Sellers in the pocket. Up in the pocket. Gonna run inside the 20. 10. Lenore Sellers going left side. 5. Touchdown, Carolina. Touchdown. Touchdown, Lenore Sellers. From 20 yards out.
That was another good day, especially in the first half. I mean, second half, we turned the ball over more, but especially in the first half, we only had 3 turnovers. Our shot quality was really high. I mean, whether it was stuff that we generated around the rim, the situations that we created in one-on-one situations, or some wide open threes that we got. I thought our quality of shot was phenomenal in the first half.
Oh, Ray, that was all Ray. Ray called it in the first half, and then when we needed a bucket, she just went back to it and kept going back to it, and Chloe delivered. She was due for a good one.
There is some sound and quotes, obviously, as we start our whip around. We go back to last Saturday. How can we forget? The Gamecocks, 17-14. Lenoris Sellers Magic taking place up at Memorial Stadium. Gamecocks win 9-3 now on the season. We will know their bowl fate officially coming up Sunday afternoon, I believe about 4 or 5 o'clock, maybe earlier, because I got a feeling the bowls have already kind of figured things out, but that's kind of where we stand. I'm expecting Citrus Bowl against Illinois. That'll be a 3 o'clock game on New Year's Eve is what I would predict today.
Yeah, and most of the bowl projections, that's what I typically see. I've seen a few like ReliaQuest with Iowa out there, but Citrus Bowl with Illinois seems to be kind of the dominant idea across the board for the people that are kind of in the know on these things.
Moving on to women's basketball. Last night, 81-70. They thumped Duke. They were up big. They got up 28-12 to start the game. Duke outscored them by 9 in the fourth quarter. They did make it a little close, Tyler. I guess you could say it got a little bit closer than maybe Dawn would have liked it to be, but the Gamecocks pull away. That was number 8 Duke last night. Gamecocks currently number 3 in the country. That is on the heels, for those that may have missed it, completely wrapped up in South Carolina football last Thursday. Coming up Sunday, looking ahead for the women, another big game. It'll be on ESPN2. You can hear it right here on 107.5 The Game. 7 o'clock, Gamecock women go out to Fort Worth, Texas. It is the Hoop Fest Women's Basketball Classic. They will take on another top 10 team, number 9 TCU. Kind of ironic that we named Jeremiah Donate as the athletic director yesterday, and now the women go out to Fort Worth to take on his current program. But the Gamecocks and Dawn Staley, again, that game will be on ESPN2. You can hear it right here on 107.5 The Game. Pregame gets going at 6:30, 7 o'clock tip time for that. Moving over to the men's side of things, they've got a game tomorrow, 2 o'clock. And coming up at the beginning of the next segment, we're going to give you a chance to win some tickets. We're going to give you a chance to win tickets coming up at the beginning of next segment. The men's basketball team will have a game against East Carolina. East Carolina 7-2 on the season. That is tomorrow at Colonial Life Arena. 2 o'clock start time for that. The game will be on SEC+. But guess what? You can hear it right here on 107.5 The Game. Also 100.3 The Game. We'll have our pregame starting at 1:30 for that, and you can tune in there. But tomorrow, 2 o'clock. Gamecocks earlier this week, they go up, and Tyler, I listed it as a make-or-break game. Not a must-win.
Sure.
But for the sake of, continuing this season moving forward, and you've put yourself in a little bit of a hole with that North Florida loss, you needed to win that game. They do it convincingly, 73-51. You get a great performance from Colin Murray Boyles.
Yeah, again, they've lost to some very good teams in Indiana and Xavier since that, lost North Florida early on, or to start the season off. But you definitely can't afford to lose any of these games that are kind of close or considered to be toss-ups. So handled their business up there in Chestnut Hills. The rest of the SEC did in the ACC Challenge was good to see. And again, this is a East Carolina team tomorrow that's very experienced, got a lot of very veteran players, including R.J. Felton, who you're going to have to deal with. But Carolina definitely the more talented team. They got the size advantage as well, and they should be able to pick up this victory again tomorrow.
Again, 2 o'clock. And again, coming up in the next segment, we will give you a chance to win a pair of tickets to that game. Again, we'll have the pregame right here, 1:30, and then game time tip, 2 o'clock. If you're wondering about television, according to what I'm looking at, SEC Network Plus, so you have to stream it, which I know is a bane of Preston Thorne's existence.
But if you have the TV login,
yeah,
that's not a problem.
It's true. It is. You know what you're doing, but that'll be tomorrow. Again, that's a big game. You got to continue to win these games. Both the men and the women will have next week off. Exam week. Both will take a week off. The men's team will come back next Saturday, the 14th, against USC Upstate. The women will come back on Sunday, the 15th. So this the final game for both this week before an exam week break, and they get going again. But another big one tomorrow. You need to win that one. You get USC Upstate, and then you set up for that Clemson game. Clemson, one of just two teams in that SEC ACC Challenge to get a win. The other, Duke, at home against Auburn. Clemson and Duke might have won the marquee games.
Sure.
Kentucky and Clemson, Duke and Auburn. But other than that, I want you to hear what I'm about to say. The SEC just went 14-2 against the ACC in this challenge.
If I would have told you that 10 years ago, would you have believed me?
No.
Well, first of all, you said, why are there 16 teams in the SEC? I mean, your first question.
Yeah. Wait, what are you talking about? Somebody played doubles? Was this AAU ball all over again? I wouldn't have believed it at the beginning of the year. I knew the SEC strong. I think we mentioned it. I haven't looked at this week, but I believe last week there was 9 teams in the top 25 from the SEC. That's another reason why South Carolina has to win tomorrow. There can be no more slip-ups the remainder of this non-conference.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough conference slate. And again, when you had a lot of new coming into this team, you knew it was going to take a little bit of time to kind of figure out what this team was and gel a little bit. But definitely want to be hitting your stride as you wrap up December because, again, that conference slate is coming up quick, and it's not going to be easy.
So we'll have that covered for you again tomorrow, 1:30 pregame right here, 107.5 The Game, 2 o'clock tip-off. And coming up to start the next segment, I'll give you the go phrase when we come back, but we'll give you some tickets to win that. Only bad thing from the week. Now, the college football playoff news was not good. That stunk. I think even though we are upset and we're gnashing teeth and we're throwing babies off the top of Williams-Brice Stadium or just all upset. I think it was expected.
Yeah.
I think we all expected to get jilted and to be left out, but it doesn't make it okay. That was the bad news. However, there was something bad last night. South Carolina the volleyball team opened NCAA tournament play against Dayton. That was out in Waco, Texas, and they are defeated 3-1 in that set. So they go down 3-1, ending their season for the volleyball team. A very good season, 16-12 overall. They finished in conference. I kept saying they had to get to 500. In conference, they finished 7-9. They were 10-5 at home, but that's how that went down from them last night. But a volleyball team, again, we talk about overall athletic program. That's what we want to do. Could promote everything here. Jeremiah Donate also inherits a women's soccer team who got the NCAA tournament and a volleyball team that also got to the NCAA tournament this past fall.
Yeah, again, it's not a fixer-upper. It's a bunch of programs in really good places that you hope Donati can help take to an even higher level, and excited to see what he's going to do starting January 2nd.
So we're still wrapping up a little bit of the fall sports, but again, you look at it, men's soccer had a turnaround year under Tony Anna, winning double-digit games for the first time since 2017. Women's soccer came within an eyelash of winning the SEC tournament championship, and they went to the NCAA tournament, won their first-round game, unfortunately lost to Minnesota in the second round. Women's volleyball finishes with a winning record. They get to the NCAA tournament, unfortunately being eliminated in the first round. Football goes 9-3 on the season. I think I don't have right in front of me, but I believe men's golf under first-year coach Rob Bradley had a very strong fall season as well with a couple really good finishes. They'll actually get back into play on February the 10th down in Puerto Rico. But all in all, a very good fall season. We'll come back.
Absolutely.
We'll start to get into a little bit of these championship games. Brian Glenn swinging by Dunkin' Donuts, and he is bringing us some goodies. We'll talk football with him. You're listening to Tyler Head, filling in for Jen Jensen, Bill Gunner. It is the early game.
Hey, Tyler Head here. We tell you about it all the time. Are you watching us on the Game TV? If not, what are you waiting for? You can literally see our beautiful faces each and every day as we're talking about all the Gamecock sports that you love. Just go on to youtube.com, search the Game TV, and watch us all day. You can also subscribe to us and hit the little bell icon to stay notified anytime we upload or anytime we are live as well. In fact, we've actually, zhuzhed up the studio a little bit this week. We have a nice curtain that has our game logo as well as a stand and repeat, as Wes Mitchell told me it is called yesterday, behind Bill over there. You can see on the live stream on the Game TV, sponsored by our friends over at Shepherd's Glass, and as always, powered by our friends at Integrated Media. If you don't have the Game TV, you can also get the 107.5 The Game app. Just go into the App Store or the Google Play Store, give it a download, and take us with you wherever you go. It's simply impossible not to listen to us. We are there, whatever platform you want to use us on, the Game TV and the 107.5 The Game app. All right, let's take another look at your traffic and weather for your ride in on this Friday morning as the sun is nice and up now. See here, we got a disabled vehicle still out there at 277 South and Farrow Roads. Be careful as you're making your way through that area. As far as things in the downtown area, it actually looks relatively okay as of right now. Have an accident out at Hardscrabble Road and Clemson Roads. Be careful as you are out that way as well as that accident I reported on earlier out at Old Cherokee Road and Old Chapin Road. Other than that, everything looking relatively okay. Still about 28, 29 degrees here in downtown Columbia. I'd say only going to get up to 45 degrees, so be sure to bundle up. High tomorrow 53 and then 65 on Sunday. It's traffic and weather here in the early game.
Well, I think the one thing that I've tried to lean into here today is we're just kind of in the preliminary stages of it all, is kind of take myself back to the NFL, and you get in your division there and you play teams, multiple times a year. And then over time, a couple of years go by, you start playing them, 4 times in 2 years. If it's a playoffs, 5 times in 2 years. And so you just try to, try to do the things that you do well. B, you try to take in the information that maybe you can gather from seeing them in person as opposed to what it looks like on tape. And then making sure that you have an idea of some of your own tendencies that you're able to break some of those things. But at the end of the day, our job is to put our players in the best position to be successful. And whether that's physically, mentally, schematically, whatever that looks like. And so that's what we always kind of fall back to. But again, I do think there are some things you can take from the first matchup, good and bad. And clearly there was enough things that we need to fix from the first time we played them. You don't get shut out in the first half. You don't have 4 turnovers in the game. You're not trailing 23-0 without having plenty of things to get better from the first time we played.
That is the voice of Steve Sarkisian, who will lead his Texas Longhorns into the SEC championship game tomorrow, 4 o'clock. The game will actually be on ABC. Reminder, ABC, if you haven't gotten accustomed to that. And joining us now to get into a little bit of college football discussion and give his picks, where he has picked against Texas for, I believe, 4 straight weeks since we started doing this, and is now a perfect 0 for 4. Brian Glenn, welcome in.
Or 4-0. In the loser column.
Okay, good point. Good point.
And Sarkisian will be leading Texas without Bevo. He's too big.
They couldn't get him there?
No.
Did I miss this?
The space requirements for his enclosure, they don't have it.
Oh, pivotal. That's why you got to have a puppy dog. Little bulldog.
That's why I'm going Georgia.
Going Georgia, huh? All right, we'll get to that. Well, let's start with this. Your opinion, being that you've been around here, you're familiar with South Carolina football. How do you feel about Texas coming in and winning the SEC championship if they are to do it in their very first year? Remember, we're supposed to be the big, bad SEC. We're tough. Nobody comes into our conference who you can't handle the wear and tear, the week in, week out. This is our conference, and now one of them Big 12 fancy-dancy, throw it all around the field with no defense comes in, and schedule was lighter, but how would you feel about Texas? How do y'all feel? 803-404-6100, but how do you feel about Texas winning in their first year?
I would not feel good.
Really?
No. Maybe it's just, and I think just now with 2 other teams coming in, does it really feel like A&M and Missouri are SEC schools? It's been about a decade where I was like, I don't like them winning.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Missouri went twice, didn't win. Didn't obviously go in their first year, but they got there twice, couldn't win. But Texas comes in this first year. Really odd stat. Really odd thing that's coming out of this weekend. If you want to go Power 4, that's fine. If you want to back it out a little bit and throw the AAC into it and go 5, and I guess if you want to just for sake of being complete, honest, and transparent. 7 championship games this week, Mountain West involved as well. UNLV, Boise State tonight at 8 o'clock, and we'll get to that in a minute. But of the major championship games, Big 12, ACC, SEC, Big 10, and I'll throw the AAC in there for the point, 5 conference games feature 5 teams that could win that are brand new to their conference.
That is a phenomenal stat.
Army, first year in the AAC, goes for the title tonight against Tulane. Arizona State, first year in the Big 12, goes for the title tomorrow at noon against Arizona State. Just mentioned Texas. Oregon, into the Big 10, first year in, goes for the title 8 o'clock tomorrow night against Penn State. And SMU in the ACC, first year, goes in.
I went to a game at SMU one time. What a beautiful campus.
Okay.
I mean, that is some... I can't use a bad word, but that is some money. That is some money there. Just beautiful. I mean, the walkways are all brick. If you drive a Mercedes there, you're a pauper.
Well, remember, everybody, what SMU's doing. They're basically playing for free. To get into the ACC, they basically said, you don't have to pay us.
They don't need the money.
We will coordinate, we'll handle everything. We don't need the money for a few years. Don't give us any revenue. We just want to be a part of your conference. And they're basically showing up and being like, we don't need your money, and we're going to take your title.
That's exactly what they're doing. They have 2 presidential libraries on their campus. I mean, it's a beautiful, it's a smaller stadium, but it's beautiful. The campus is beautiful. I'm okay with SMU Texas, I don't know. I'm a big Matthew McConaughey fan.
Yeah.
I like him. I like his style. I read his book.
I think of all these, maybe we expected Oregon to be here. That's probably was the most expected. Maybe Texas would be second on that list. You knew Texas kind of fell rear end backwards into being at their peak. Maybe at the most peak, they've been even better than the Vince, right there with the Vince Young teams. That was a really good team. But they have fallen rear end backwards to being at their peak when they enter, whereas Oklahoma, who had been so good, fell rear end backwards into being at about their worst entering the league.
And had a much tougher schedule.
Very true.
I think if you flip-flop their schedules, you're talking something completely different as well.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Texas is a good team. And, it strengthens. Texas and Oklahoma coming in strengthens the SEC. But, I mean, first year, come on. Then we're going to have to listen to them forever.
Yeah, this is kind of one of those things where whether they got the Texas pass or whatever, because a couple of y'all weigh in and say the same thing. Texas does not win the SEC if they do not have the weakest conference strength of schedule.
I'll throw this out there to the listeners. I mean, since I've picked against them and been wrong for do they want me to pick them? Do the listeners want me to pick them?
We will get to some picks coming up in the next segment. We'll get to all these games. I don't know. It feels like as a South Carolina fan, we've had no interaction with Texas. 0 interaction. So it's just that school out there, whereas I feel like some of the other schools, especially the Big 12 schools, have had to deal with them and had to deal with their arrogance. Mm-hmm. And it's like, as a South Carolina fan, do we look at it now and like, oh, I see what you're talking about. Yeah, I got you. And like you said, I don't want to deal with y'all. I don't want to deal with y'all at all winning our championship, SEC. Because the SEC, people, the Big Ten, I get it. We had a caller last week, Iowa fan, but was like, I don't understand the love. I don't understand the love for the SEC. I don't understand the love within the conference. How you guys, it is just something that's different about the conference where, we don't like each other. Florida doesn't like Georgia. Alabama doesn't like Auburn. But the conference does come together as a whole to try and make fun of everybody else.
I do. Every bowl game, I root for every SEC team. Every single one of them. And I have for years. But I don't, Texas, just there's something. I don't know if it's the stupid orange that they wear or just...
It's an arrogance.
It's the arrogance. At some level, you have to respect it. But, you could deal with the Alabama arrogance. All right, fine. You could deal with Georgia, people barking at you. All right, whatever. But, yeah, something about Texas.
Let's give you a chance to win pair of tickets right here. All right, we've got 3 pairs, so we're going to take callers 3, 4, and 5. This is for tomorrow's basketball game against East Carolina. 2 o'clock tip time. Game will be on the SEC Network Plus, so you can actually go see it in person. 803-404-6100. Callers 3, 4, and 5. You'll win a pair of tickets to tomorrow's South Carolina, East Carolina basketball game. Call right now. You're listening to the early game. We are over a week removed from Thanksgiving. How's that house holding up? Have you even bothered starting to clean it? Well, if you haven't, that's okay, because guess what? I got great news for you. Zerorez Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning extended their Black Friday sale, and it lasts until tomorrow. You heard that right. You need to book now. You got to take advantage of this, but you've got until December 7th. That is tomorrow. Call Zerorez, 803-262-4020. Take advantage of their extended Black Friday sale. Book and get 3 rooms and a free hallway for just $119. You can also get 3 rooms and your sofa cleaned. Probably had a relative sitting on it that wasn't quite as clean. So you can get your sofa cleaned along with 3 rooms for $129, or you can get brand new air quality in your house with $75 off your next air duct cleaning. But again, you got to book before the end of tomorrow. So call 803-262-4020 or schedule with ease online, ZerorezColumbia.com. Zerorez, spell it backwards or forwards, is the right way to clean.
And now look at your traffic and weather for your ride in on this Friday morning. Things looking relatively okay on the roadways right now. Have an accident out at Hardin Street and Divine Street, so be mindful as you're going through that area for sure. See, outside of that, not really a whole lot happening on the roadway. Still the accident at Hardscrabble Road and Clemson Road as well. Taking a look at the weather, still about 28 degrees, starting to warm up a little bit here in downtown Columbia. High today is only going to get up to 45 degrees. High tomorrow, 53, 65 on Sunday before the temperature stays in the mid-60s with some rain moving in at the beginning of next week. You're listening to the early game.
.36 as we roll along. We got some winners, Tyler? All right. That's all I need to know. If you want to honor them, I'll let you honor them. If we just want to say we got winners, we'll roll with that. So, you ready to make some picks now?
Let's do it.
All right. I don't know. Do you picks on your show? I'm not going to steal any content from your show, am I?
There we go.
Okay. Excellent. Yeah, get your headphones on. All right. Let's roll through some of these here. So we're going to start tonight. UNLV, Boise State, 8 o'clock. Fox Network. I will, if I don't go, I do have, Lauren is sick. We got a little issue here. There is a Darius Rucker NIL concert tonight over here at the Township.
Making the post-concert meal.
Oh, are you now?
Yeah.
Okay. I look for a VIP invite then.
I didn't get one.
As Terry said, I have no shame in trying to weasel my way into whatever I can. If I don't go to the Darius concert, which is going to be very good tonight, again, it's Gamecock-related NIL, I will be watching this. This will be kind of the game. Boise State's -4. This is an elimination game. This is a play-in elimination game for the college football playoff. The winner is in. If UNLV wins, it is more likely that Clemson or the Big 12 champion get the byes. More likely. If Boise wins, Boise will get a bye in the first round. Where do you start? Boise -4 tonight.
One of the special teams player and backup tight end's brother works for me at the Olympia Village Idiot, so I'm going to go UNLV here.
Oh, okay.
Family affair.
Tyler? Tyler's on the phone. I go with Boise tonight. I think it's just a team of destiny. I think they're built for this. These two teams have played. They're also, by the way, this will be a home game, not a neutral site game. It'll be on the blue turf. It'll be at Albertson Stadium in Boise. If it's 30 degrees here, I'm going to go with it's not 50 degrees there.
I will say that having that connection, I have watched more UNLV games than what I would have ever dreamt I would have. When they had the whole thing with the quarterback leaving everything, it kind of galvanized that team. They're a solid team. Now, Boise State is really good, and what they did going up against when they went up against Oregon, very impressive. I'll stick with UNLV.
You stick with them. You stick with your employee.
I'm back.
You're back. Glad to have you back. All right, good job. Now you see what we put Jen through every morning. It's like herding cats in there. Boise, -4 tonight. On the blue turf in Albertson Stadium.
Yeah, I'll take Boise. Again, these two teams matched up earlier on in the season. UNLV does have the best run defense in the Mountain West and did hold Ashton Jeanty to his second lowest rushing total of the season, but I think a second game against them will net better for Boise State. And I got the blue turf winning. They're on the blue turf. That's right.
They're on the blue turf.
So, I got give me Boise.
Okay, 2-1.
This is why I'm just the goofball that shows up. Like, he's pulling out stats and things that make sense. I'm like, I know a guy whose brother plays for him.
The cook in our kitchen.
By the way, you mentioned the quarterback, Matthew Sluka, that guy that ended up self-shirting himself. I don't think he's got a very good case because they've been playing really well since he decided to opt out, and they are with a chance to make the playoff tonight.
Not good. Yeah, I go Boise with you as well. Other big game tonight, 8 o'clock ABC. There might not be a more scenic game, championship game all weekend long. I've never been to a game at Meechee Stadium. I've been to West Point. I've seen it. It was absolutely phenomenal. I'd probably love to go to a game up there. Tulane at number 24 Army. Remember, I mentioned this earlier, rumors Todd Monken, head coach at Army, interviewing for the North Carolina job, not considered one of the top 2 candidates. Tulane -5 tonight. Brian Glenn, I'll start with you.
I'm going to go with Army, and you are correct. And I will say this to anybody who is listening. If you ever have a chance to go to a game at West Point, go.
I'd love to. I honestly would love to go right there on the banks. What is
Hudson?
Hudson. Oh man, it was beautiful. You got the mountains going up, and we actually made a trip of it. They're not close by, but went and visited West Point, saw the whole thing, did the tour, checked everything out. Beautiful. I was real young, and then went over to Cooperstown. Yep. I think it was about 2.5 hours. I believe.
Probably, yeah.
Seemed about right.
Straight
driving
up to Albany, take a left.
That was really cool. Tulane and Army tonight.
So I said I can't go against the U.S. Army, but Tulane does have a really good run defense. They held Navy to just 100 rushing yards a couple weeks ago. No, the service cap, run the triple option. Probably going to lean towards Tulane in this one, honestly.
You guys put anything in this stock. Again, it's 30 degrees here. It's not 40 degrees in West Point, New York.
Fair.
Tulane from Louisiana. Generally, I think they now have an outside. They have an outside stadium now, but still cold weather against a southern team.
I think that's worth something.
It's absolutely worth something. I grew up playing in the cold.
Give me Army. Give me Army straight up tonight. Give me Army. I don't need the points. I don't want the points. Army's winning this thing straight out. Let's go to tomorrow, noon. Another elimination game. You want fun. You want excitement. You want a reason championship games mean something. This one means something. Winner is in, loser is out. Iowa State, Matt Campbell, as we mentioned, considered one of the top 2 candidates for North Carolina, has not interviewed. Kenny Dillingham, youngest coach, I believe. Am I right on this? Youngest coach
I believe so.
in FBS, yeah. Number 15, Arizona State. Number 16, Iowa State. Tyler, I'll start with you.
Oh, go with Arizona State. I think they're surging at the right time. I like Kenny Dillingham a lot. When we talk about coaches that have personality, he's got it in spades, which is something we desperately miss with a guy like Coach Leach no longer being with us. I don't know. They're just playing really good football right now. Sam Levitt's really caught on at the back half of his freshman year, and Iowa State's not going to be easy. They do have the experience of being in a championship game a couple years ago with Matt Campbell, but I like the Sun Devils.
What do you got?
I'm, again, not going to throw out any stats. I'm going to just say that my kid's godfather, Matt Barry, is a ASU alum, so I'll go with the Sun Devils. Fork 'em.
Okay. All right. So not a lot of analytics from Brian Glenn this morning. It's just
it all makes sense in my head.
All friendships. Arizona State -2, by the way.
That's all that matters.
Don't want the points, don't need the points. Iowa State's boring. Nobody knows anything about them. They had a weird mid-season 2-game losing streak. Rocco, I think it's Beck, has been in college for 97 years. He was on the Titanic, came off, committed to Iowa State. Iowa State wins tonight.
And on that Iowa State
tomorrow at noon, by the way.
I wonder why more teams don't go with red and yellow.
Not really an attractive color, especially against the gray backdrop of Ames, Iowa. AT&T Stadium, by the way, noon game again, ABC. 4 o'clock. Let's skip that one. Let's go to the Big Ten game. Oregon and Penn State. This will be in Lucas Oil Stadium tomorrow night, 8 o'clock. Oregon only a 3.5-point favorite in this thing. Dan Lanning, Oregon, stepping into the Big Ten, much like Texas, trying to win a championship. Tyler?
Until you show me James Franklin winning this kind of game, I cannot pick James Franklin. Now, Dan Lanning has lost some pretty big games himself, though he's only been at the helm for a couple years. I think the Ducks are too talented.
I'm sitting in Preston's chair, and there's no way I'm picking James Franklin sitting in Preston's chair.
Yeah, you would be. You would be frowned upon. I want to pick Penn State. I really, really do. But what Tyler just said is right. I can't pick James Franklin to win a big game. I go Oregon, but that's against my gut there. I'm going to go Oregon. My official pick is Oregon. If we replay this, we hold everybody accountable, which this show is known for accountability. I'm going Oregon, but there's a part of me that wants to take James Franklin.
Come on.
Gets it off his back
Penn
tonight.
State's a fraud.
I also believe that.
And since there is accountability, I'm not worried about Preston frowning upon me. I'm worried about him punching upon me.
That's a good point. Although he's older. He cricked his neck sleeping the other week, you told me. 803-404-6100. We'll come back. We will get into Clemson, SMU, and Georgia, Texas, and we'll remind you of what was occurring in November. Want to make sure we bring that back up. I know the month of November is over, but we'll do that as well. You're listening to Bill Gunner, Tyler Head filling in for Jen Jensen, Brian Glenn filling in for Preston Thorne. We're still making it work. It's the early game. Bill Gunner for Mid-State Roofing, where for nearly 30 years, Larry Leitner and the family have been the leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry. And the reason for that? Well, they think about your roof 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You probably only think about your roof when you notice a leak. You don't want to do that. Call today. Go ahead and get a maintenance contract. Don't let a leak happen and then have to call. That's the worst thing you can do. By then, the problem's already started. Go ahead. Call Larry Leitner today. Whether it's a high-rise or a hospital, manufacturing or industrial, Mid-State Roofing designs and installs bonded systems with a protective guarantee that'll keep your operation dry and running long into the future. And again, they do that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They're ready to help you. They're ready to take your phone call. It'll be an on-call technician or a Mid-State Roofing employee ready to take your phone call and help you with that maintenance contract. The number to do so? 803-356-1919. Again, that's 803-356-1919. Call Mid-State Roofing today. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you. (803-404-6100). How you can weigh in. Brian Glenn in here for the final segment. He brought some donuts, he brought some coffee, and he brought his beautiful smile in this morning, where last month I know you were very happy. Pizza for Preemies. How did it go? How do you feel about it?
It went very well, and thank you to everyone who came by and everyone who donated. I think we raised a little over $13,000 in that ballpark that was going straight to the March of Dimes.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And now it's people can still donate and do things. It's just not the same.
Correct.
It's a different month. Just November is Premature Awareness Month, I believe.
Yes. November is National Prematurity Awareness Month. And this is now December, which is a different month than November.
That's the way they tell me. Yeah. So, but well, that's awesome. Congratulations on that. I know that means something very special to you, obviously to Preston and to you and Kelly as well.
It does, and again, a sincere thank you to everyone who donated. Every little bit helped. Even the people who donated $1, that's going to life-saving research for moms and babies. And myself and Kelly and our kids and Preston, his wife and his daughter. There would be a lot more sad stories. There's still sad stories out there, which is why we have to continue the effort to raise money and really get a handle on this.
Yeah, and for more information on that, again, you can go to, I believe it is villageidiotpizza.com, where you can check that out and get more information. Just because the month of November is over doesn't mean the fight against premature awareness is. You can go, there's a tab at the top that says Pizza for Preemies, and if you click on that, there's a lot more information there and places you can donate directly through the Square platform or through the online ordering platform. So, again, just because the month of November is over doesn't mean Pizza for Preemies is over.
Correct.
Continue to go. villageidiotpizza.com. All right, let's start with this one. Georgia, Texas tomorrow, 4 o'clock, ABC. Bulldogs 30-15 winner earlier this year. Rematch, Texas number 2, Georgia number 5. The game, what they're playing for is a bye. A bye. Both teams are in. Nobody's being eliminated here. Texas minus 2.5. Tyler, I'll start with you.
Yeah, Kirby Smart has a history of playing better against teams the second time. Auburn in 2017, Alabama when they beat them in the national championship a couple years ago, and I don't think this should be any different. Now, Texas has figured out the run game a little bit more in the back half of the season since they last played Georgia, and Georgia is struggling to stop the run. Saw that last weekend against Georgia Tech. I think it'd be tighter than 30-15. What'd you say the line on that was?
2.5.
2.5. Oof. And that's Texas favored?
Texas is minus 2.5. Over-under, if you're wondering, for purposes, 49.5 is the over-under.
Yeah, I'm going to take Georgia to cover on that one. Again, I just...
To cover? I mean, 2.5. I mean, you go and win? You go an outright win?
I'm going outright win. I don't know. I just trust Kirby a little bit more than Sark at this point.
You have had a nice tradition of betting against Texas, and Texas proving you wrong. Where do you go, Mr. Glenn?
This is tough because now I'm making decisions on things that make absolutely no sense.
Right.
Like the karma thing. But I feel like, although as dumb as I am, I mean, I did one time get kicked out of junior college.
Excellent work.
I think it very excellent. It's Georgia. I don't think the Kirby. I don't think the Georgia. I don't think they allow this to happen. The nightmare scenario of Texas coming in and winning their first year. We're all Georgia fans.
Okay, didn't see that one coming. Georgia's 2 losses this year on the road. I know it's the SEC championship. I know it's a neutral site in name. This is a home game for Georgia. Their fans will find a way to get whatever 50-50 tickets were out there. This will be a home game. The loss at Mississippi, again, a road game in a wild environment. The loss against Alabama, wild environment, or wild for Alabama standards. This will essentially be a home game. I also tend to just believe that Kirby Smart somehow, some way overlooked Georgia Tech, that they were looking ahead to this game, knowing that they were in. I'm with you. Georgia wins, and I actually think Georgia might win by a touchdown or more. This is one of those games. They just tend to rise up for some of these games. Again, I think it's kind of a home game. I don't think Georgia's playing well, but I take Georgia over Texas tomorrow. All right, let's go to the ACC Championship. 8 o'clock tomorrow night. I understand they're putting tarps over the seats at Bank of America Stadium to cover up all the empty seats because this is such a well-attended ACC championship. SMU comes in. Clemson playing for their playoff hopes. If Clemson wins, they are in. They are in. Then becomes the question of what happens to SMU. Tyler, where do you go with this?
Well, anytime Clemson's played a defense with a pulse, they seem to lose. The closest game was obviously to South Carolina last week. SMU's the second-best defense in the ACC. Give me the Ponies.
2.5, by the way, is the ESPN bet. 2, down to 2. 2, SMU minus 2, Brian Glenn.
Smooth.
SMU, huh? Smooth. Southern Methodist University.
No, you know what? Yes.
Uh-oh.
Yes.
Okay, that was close.
Thought about it.
I don't know anybody.
Hit the actual music.
Oh, there we go.
That is the SMU fight song. We are all SMU fans today on this program.
Pony Express, baby.
Pony Express, pony up, Pony Express. Pay them whatever they want.
I'm getting my Eric Dickerson rec specs.
That's right. Give me the ponies. Come on, SMU. Make it 2 in a row over the Tigers. Tyler, thank you. Brian Glenn, thank you. We're out.
Bill, thank you.
Oh, what a fun show. What a good time. What a great weekend of football. Championship weekend. Well, how are you going to celebrate? It's also good basketball on this week. Well, if you've heard this show, if you listen to me, you know exactly what I'm about to do. All right, after the show, it's a trip over to Old Timey Meat Market. Now, I go to the Lexington store. You could go to South Congaree. You could go to St. Andrews Road. Either way, when you visit Old Timey Meat Market, it is the way to start the weekend. I don't know what you prefer, but if you love steak, let me advise you. Get